Okay, so I guess we'll get started. The first part of the agenda is I booked an hour in the schedule, but I don't think we'll need an hour. I just assumed the video conference system would be more of a pain than it ended up being, so that's good. So it's okay if we're ahead of schedule. It just gives us more time to work on stuff. So I guess the first thing that I wanted to do was talk about like what is Fedora Hubs and who we're building it for. And I guess because we've had some questions, like I've had people ask me in IRC, and I've like seen some confusion, like what is it exactly? And there's like a few ways that I've been thinking about it, and we can just like talk about it if anybody has any other ideas or wants to modify it or whatever. But like there's two ways I think of explaining it, and the first elevator pitch is it's almost like an intranet for the Fedora project. So like you work on all these different projects within Fedora, and it's a place where you can get information on all of them as a contributor. So that's the first thing. The second thing is it's almost like a social network for contributors. So, one place to go to keep up with everything, like a one-stop shop, like get notifications and messages, and just to be able to keep up with stuff across the project in ways that aren't currently possible. Because we have like a lot of web properties, we have a lot of apps, we have a lot of places where different teams do things differently. This team uses Track, this team uses that, Bugzilla or whatever. And it's just a way to sort of make a level playing field for everybody to come in. So those are two ways of thinking of it, basically like the social network and then sort of the Fedora intranet. In terms of the users, me and Megan have been thinking about it in terms of you have contributors who are old-timers who already have a workflow, they kind of know what they're doing, and then you have new contributors. And it's new contributors we're really trying to enable with this app, but we still need to accommodate the old contributors. So like we had a discussion yesterday, I think it was, where we're talking about the IRC functionality, and how if you're an already, you're an old-timer contributor, I'm saying old-timer, you're an experienced contributor, and you probably have an IRC client, and you're not maybe going to be so willing to use a web client to do IRC. It's the same kind of deal with HyperKitty, right? Is that we'll have people who are using the mail client, and we'll have people who's using the website. So, but the thing is that IRC is a barrier for a lot of new contributors, especially those who it's not a common chat protocol at all. It's not. It's just very technical. So when we are trying to recruit contributors who aren't coders, who aren't already in the Linux community, they have no idea what it is, and it's just another hurdle on top of 20 different things they have to clear when they're trying to join. So we've been thinking about the design of the IRC functionality within Hubs with that in mind, that you should be able to, if you're an experienced contributor, not even have to deal with it, just turn it off or hide it and it never bothers you again, and you just business as usual in your IRC client. Whereas if you're a new contributor, you should be able to interact with it as if you don't need to install anything else, like it's the Gtalk and Gmail interface, or if it's like the Facebook chat interface. But there are some challenges with that, but that's sort of the way that we've been trying to think about features and things as we're designing out how things should look, is how would this work for the experienced Fedora contributor, and how would this work for someone who just came today at a Hackfest and wants to join the project. So that's basically all I had to cover for this hour, besides doing sort of a little game to sort of talk about what our two different user types are all about. So does that sound reasonable? It sounds like the right mission for the project as a whole? Yeah, okay. So maybe what we'll do is we'll go ahead, and I've never done this remotely before, but we're going to try it. Let me see if I can share the screen.
Hey Mo, while you're getting the game ready, does it make any sense for folks to introduce themselves around? I don't know if Megan knows everybody that's around here. I mean, I know she's been introduced to some people on our team, but I think there are a few people she may not have seen yet.
Sure.
And also for I guess for purposes of the video recording, in case somebody looks at this and they don't know who we are.
Okay, do we want to start in here?
Yeah. Go ahead and start, Mo.
Okay. I can't actually see myself, so I kind of can. Okay, so hi, I'm Mo. I'm a UX designer on the Fedora design team, and I've been working on the Hubs mockups with Megan, who is our summer intern, who's also doing the same.
Yep, I'm Megan. Hi, Megan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Remy the Cosmaker, and I am the Fedora community lead. I'm relatively new to the project, but I'm also on the council as well. So I am super excited about hubs, because that seems like the natural place where a lot of the stuff that we want to do in the community space will live. And it's also hopefully going to be a very familiar code base too. So I'm very excited about hubs.
I'm Luke Mackin. I work on Fedora infrastructure, release engineering, tools, QA, and all sorts of things.
My name is Adam Miller. I am also doing release engineering for Fedora, working on build tooling and automation for composes and things of that nature.
I'm Ralph Bean, and I'm a software engineer on the Fedora engineering team with these guys, and we spend a lot of time probably working on hubs in the next year.
I'm Steve Gallagher. I'm an architect at Red Hat working on the server platform. I'm also...
Oh, they can't see you.
Oh, well, that's good.
There you are.
Hi. I'm also on the server working group in Fedora, and I'm mostly interested in figuring out how we can do this so that we onboard as many people as possible.
Okay. So next in the list we have Aurelian.
Yeah, I'm Aurelian. I'm here. I'm working on HyperKitty, and I'm currently trying to get my webcam to work, but that should be done in a few minutes.
Okay, David.
Hi, I'm David Gay, Oddshocks and IRC. I work on sort of the infra team and the cloud team, and that's I'm hoping to work on hubs a lot over the next year. That's pretty much it.
Okay, and then Nask. I don't even know if you told me your real life first name, but do you have video or anything? No. Okay, we'll just move on. Paul. Oh, there you are, Nask. Sorry. We can't hear you. Can you unmute?
Can I see the room?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, there's no mirror. Okay, go ahead, Paul. I think he's having trouble.
I spoke then when it rolled.
Uh-oh.
Hi.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Paul Frields, and I work on the team doing a lot of administrative and managerial trivia, I guess, but also really interested in hubs. It's been a dream of mine since I was FPL years ago to have the tools and resources to build something like this. So I'm really excited to have people together to work on it.
Okay, Pingu.
Hi, I'm Pingu. I'm part of the Fedora infrastructure team, and I work mostly on the web development part.
Okay, Patrick.
Patrick Utrecht, and I'm mostly on the Fedora infrastructure system administration team.
And you don't sleep.
Patrick, if you end up taking a nap during this, no one's gonna mind. Like if we see your head droop down, it'll be okay.
I'll do my
Javier?
best to stay awake until the end.
Is Javier there? I see him in the list, but I don't see his.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey.
there you are.
Can you see me? All right.
Yeah.
Xavier Lamier. I'm in the infrastructure team as well and working on the Fedora card since.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let me see if I can get this going. Wait, hold on. Actually, I should have done this before. Hold on. Okay, wait. Do. Okay, cool. So let me just save this before. We'll start with the experienced user maybe. How did I do this? No. There we go. Oh, is that too much? That is too much. Okay. All right, I got my stuff together now. All right, so the name of this game is Pain Gain, if that makes sense. So what we're going to do basically is for each user, so we're going to start with the experienced contributor. So we'll do Experienced Fedora contributor. And can everybody read this okay? Okay. Okay. So we're going to talk about, and it's sort of like a brainstorm, throw the ideas out there kind of thing. We're going to talk about, in terms of contributing to Fedora, and maybe we'll start with experience and see where it goes. We can always jump back to the inexperienced contributor. But for each user type, we're going to talk about what it's like to contribute to Fedora now without hubs. What are the problems that they run into? And then for the game side, and I guess I should do a line here, we're going to talk about how hubs is going to make it better, if that makes sense. And they don't necessarily have to line up. Like, for the pain that you come up with for this line, you don't have to come up with a game that like maps to it exactly. It's fine. It's just more thinking through like what they experience, so we can kind of get our heads into like where they're coming from, if that makes sense. Okay, so, and I can show you guys an example. So this is an example of like a pain game map for, I guess, for a CIO. So you can see how like across the line, like across the rows, they're not exactly mapped up. It's more like taking inventory of like what are all the things that are problems that they're dealing with, and then what are the gains you're trying to give them, you know, what kind of benefits are you trying to provide them that they don't have today. Okay, so I think I would start with experienced Fedora contributor. Too much information to parse. There's just so many places to get information, it's hard to know where to go, and it's really hard to keep up. Maybe I'll put that too. Okay, does anybody else have a pain or a game for them?
It's manually updated.
Okay. And like more specifics, like...
So like you have to update your own wiki pages. You have to, if you do a thing, you have to do meta work around it to make the thing findable. I mean, depending on the thing.
Right.
Fed message. But.
Okay.
Another one is that in order to do quite a few things around Fedora, like it's kind of hard sometimes to do them when you're not at your own computer that's been set up with Fedora. So you're kind of limited sometimes in how you can communicate with folks. Right. I mean, we definitely have, obviously we have web apps and so forth, but the number of them that kind of correspond with things that you have on your local system makes it hard.
And you can't do anything on mobile.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a biggie.
What sort of contributions are we talking about with mobile?
Anything from like wiki editing or code review, or I don't know, there's plenty of stuff you could do just sitting around for a few minutes on your phone that we could make a lot easier.
Like the main thing you can do on mobile is write to mailing lists. And that's probably not something that's always helpful.
Yeah.
Or something you want to do on mobile, ideally.
Right. I'm driving in the car in traffic, you know.
Well, would a tablet qualify as mobile?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, 'cause I know a lot of people who will, like, when they're traveling, they'll spend more time on their tablet than they will on their laptop, just 'cause it's easier to pull out while they're like sitting in line or sitting in the waiting area at an airport or something.
Right.
Sure. So someone's still looking for the cert for the
Yes,
Wi-Fi.
please.
And also offline.
Be cool.
Let me grab that too.
We have a lot of repetitive workflows. So like there's oftentimes things that need to be done on one package that need to be done on 100 other packages. And then, like mapping your packages in releasemonitoring.org.
Wrap that up there twice.
Any games? I'm gonna put an
Open source is all pain. There's nothing.
I'm gonna put one-stop shop to keep up with what's going on. Like this one I worry about with the games, because it's like with HyperKitty, like if people are using their mail client, it's more like it's not going to bother them. They'll get extra metadata and stuff if they use the website, and that's a really big gain. But if they don't want to change their workflow, it's basically the gain is their workflow isn't impacted.
I think it'll help them explore different corners that they didn't know existed. And even if you have your own IRC client, it's like, oh, I'll click on this special interest group and go to their page and blip, I'm immediately in their channel and I didn't know these people before.
Yeah.
And, dropped into their community.
That's actually a really good one.
Yeah. I was going to say just the other day, for example, I've discovered some things about the Docker community in Fedora had a whole bunch of functionality that just nobody outside of their little community knew, and having them have an area where hopefully they're talking about that.
Yeah.
So maybe on the flip side, better visibility for your corner of Fedora.
Yeah. Better namespace for wiki pages, documents, standard operating procedures, FAQs.
I don't know if this is worth noting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to point it out that Nasco is commenting on the chat on Blue Jeans because he can't speak. So you have to be careful to what he's saying there.
I think I missed that thing. Sorry.
Nasco is participating to the discussion via the chat on Blue Jeans.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
Yeah, he's got some comments there for when we get to the beginner Fedora contributor, the new contributor.
Great. Cool.
So
we'll flip over to that when we move over to that.
I had another gain here, which is as an experienced contributor, it's often hard for me to show people what's going on in Fedora. Like, here is some activity that's interesting to this particular audience I'm talking about, or even be able to show, like, here are a number of different areas of Fedora where something's going on. It's really difficult to show that in terms of, well, here's a big mailing list thread, or, here's an IRC channel. Being able to show that in a way that's more visual is really powerful.
Yeah, and along those lines, like more of a historical archive of things instead of just getting lost in the void.
And it's also I would say it's like cross-functional historical archive, if that makes sense. You don't have to go to separate things. Cool. We actually have a lot of games here. Any other pains or? Sorry. Oh.
Did all of these go into experienced contributor?
Yes. So these are all for the experienced one. We could move on to the inexperienced.
Moa was going to point one more thing out. I'm not sure. This might actually be part of what I was talking about showcasing Fedora, but the the ability to, and maybe, I don't know, now I'm also worried that it's kind of obvious or maybe self-referential or something, but the idea that you have like one URL that you can give somebody to get started, as opposed to like really 20 of them.
So, because like join that Fedora project that already has like all this, so it's just like one place, and you can just give them the URL for the team, and it's like a consistent thing, or you want to contribute in general, start here and see what interests you. Yeah,
it kind of like having this. I think one of the measures for this would be, you're giving somebody this one URL, and technically we do that now. Like, I can give you one URL that's like the design team wiki page, but when you get there, there's like 10 URLs you've got to, okay, maybe not 10, but there's a bunch of URLs that you have to go visit to do other things in order to get started. Whereas if all of this is kind of self-contained, it can actually walk the person through what they need to do, as opposed to making them kind of find their path.
Well, and I'm also going to put like a more consistent cross-team joining process almost.
Yeah.
Like if you join one team, you know how to join others. It's because right now it's like a different bird every time.
Yeah. I think that's a good point, because it's definitely very different. Like, I've kind of floated around a few different sub projects, but in the past as a community member, and it was like you start over basically.
Yeah.
At the same time, you could, if you want to start a new group, you could fork an existing one.
Yes.
And take all their, bootstrapping boilerplate.
Yep.
Boiler strap.
Okay.
I like that.
And there's one feature that we've talked about a little bit, right? So there's hubs that are team hubs, but then there's also project hubs. And the project hubs are very, like you can just start one and then archive it when the project's over or whatever. And just having the concept of, because we have so many cross-team efforts, right? So the project can't always be mapped to one particular team because it doesn't make sense a lot of the time. So having a place to put the stuff for the project, no matter who's working on it, I think would be a big win that we don't have right now, really. I mean, we have Git repos, but this gives you a lot more than a Git repo can. I'm going to put that too. Okay, cool. So we actually have more gains than pains at this point. Yeah. Can anybody think of more pains just because pain?
We're numb to it now.
There's probably some truth to that. We're used to the current way.
Numb to pain. That's a pain.
It's a harsh way to put it, but yeah.
I'm just trying to think of even like organizing stuff.
What does it mean by limited offline experience? That part of the conversation.
I mentioned it just randomly. It's like, what if I'm on a plane and I want to be able to get some stuff done?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have any use case for that, really.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't.
And you're gonna have to be online to get the hubs.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily if it's built like a Chrome offline app or something.
Yeah. Like if I want to get through some documentation for a specific sub project or be able to tweak it and then queue it up for.
Well, part of being able to do stuff offline is being able to find it in the first place to download it. Yeah. So maybe I put that as like finding stuff is hard because of inconsistencies.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
At least we're consistent about our consistency. Like, nothing is ever in the same place in two groups.
Yeah.
So that's consistent.
I don't know if this is included in something we already have, but there would be more consistency. I mean, I guess we have the one URL thing, but there'd be more consistency in what experienced contributors give to new contributors when they pop into IRC, being like, hey, what are we doing? And I think, like, at least for me, it's like, oh man, well, I don't know. I guess I got to like judge how skilled you might be in this field and tell you to either look at the README or point you to wiki page or whatever. And I think that for experienced contributors, it's like, it's inconsistent what we might tell somebody that's trying to contribute. And if we say the wrong thing, then it can be a turnoff, So this will give us a place to be like, hey, man, just look at here. It's got like the quick start guide and it's got everything that's going on. So you can just go here and it's done. And we don't even have to worry about it.
Yeah, one of the ideas that me and Megan have been talking about is having like a library per hub where like people, it's kind of like and I think we talked about this last meeting, like on a forum where the forum members have pinned posts, like read this first, seriously read this first. And it's like all like, like the team etiquette and like, if there's a question that everybody asks, it has like the FAQ and stuff like that. So it would be something like that, whereas if any kind of post came down the hub, one of the admins could pin it to the hub library. So then the library becomes a place where you can refer to old posts that have useful information. Like somebody writes a how-to guide here's how to set up SSH keys in Fedora, because this is one of the things like that new design team members like have no idea, like what is this? So just having a step-by-step thing that's well written, okay, we'll pin that and we'll put that in the sort of library for people in the team. So that would be the place, I think, David, where you have a new contributor coming online, you're not really sure what exactly to tell them, you can point them to the library and everybody has that same asset, so that if there's something missing or if there's something particularly good, you have that feedback so you can tweak it and make it good, so that the next time a contributor joins, it's like it's not a new effort every time you're using something. So
once pinned, would something be editable, I guess, by the whoever had pinned it?
That's a good question.
Because I feel like if it is a how-to guide, it probably needs to be updated at points as things change.
Well, what you could do is just kind of fork it, like write a new how-to based on that how-to, pin that, then unpin the other one.
Okay, and just kind of keep the other one, I guess, somewhere in terms of historic. Like
you could just kill it. I mean. Okay.
Well, I mean, I can't think of a reason why you would need it to stick around if it is old, outdated information, but maybe. Because at least in the wiki, like, there's like a historic change log of like.
Right. So you know how stuff changed over time.
When you have a post like that in the hub, does the data actually live in the hub's database, or does it live in the wiki or on your blog? And there's just a link to that with like the first paragraph.
Well, I wonder if something is pinned, if we could store it. Otherwise, it's not stored. So like the act of pinning sucks it into the database.
Sure. Okay. We just have a model for like. Think about it. We have to have a model for being able to store all the heterogeneous types in like a kind of unified way.
Right.
And, I don't know. It's maybe possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
At the very least, if there's a synopsis and a link out, the only thing is then when the links go dead.
Right.
But at least you would hope that the material would get hit enough that if something went dead, I mean, that could be a feature too, is if a link went dead.
Yeah. Totally.
Someone gets notified.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it could.
I sort of envision hubs as like a central point that utilizes all of our other services. So unless I feel like all of the data in hubs would be better off coming from all of our other services. Like, did people envision certain types of data being stored expressly in the hubs database, or is everything coming from other places? Make sense?
I envision the first part of all the data. I guess maybe I got that word wrong, but all the data coming from other services. And if we do store things in hubs, it would be a minimal amount of information, mostly about the configuration of each hub.
Yeah, I agree. That's how I pictured it too. So, I mean, you wouldn't have to like really pull any data into the database. It would come from somewhere else. But then again, I mean, I really like the libraries idea, I should say as well. But I don't know how that would work, how we should do that.
Maybe there's another app, that, like the library app, that the stuff gets stored in.
Sure, yeah.
And then it pulls it in.
Yeah, that's not unreasonable.
Okay. I just made like a little idea bucket on the bottom. And I'm, of course, going to make this file available after. Okay. So maybe we're good to move on to inexperienced. So let me just fix this up a little bit because I'm a pretty designer. That's the wrong one. No. Wrong. Oh, because, yeah. Okay, hold on.
No idea what you even just did with Inkscape there.
Yeah, so
your proficiency in Inkscape makes my head spin.
Well, what's happening is I'm trying to pop up the document properties window, but it's actually a different X window. So when I do full screen, it doesn't pop up; it pops under, which is awesome. But okay.
Window man.
On account of computers.
Yeah. In a nutshell.
Okay. There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna move this stuff to the side.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you.
We're playing a game.
Awesome. I like games.
It's not actually that fun. Well, it's not bad, but it's not like, oh my god, this is so much fun.
Jigsaw from Saw just walks in, you're like, would you like to play a game?
Okay, so new contributors. Oops, there we go. Sorry. It's like your computer burped or something.
What is their game?
Pain gain.
It's the pain gain game. So we just did the pain gain game. I can't really say that. For experienced contributors. So what we did is we talked about sort of for right now, today, in a non-hubs world, what are the pains that experienced Fedora contributors run into when just going about the business of contributing to Fedora, any kind of contributor? And then we talked about what are some gains that hubs would provide them. And I was worried, actually, we wouldn't have so many gains because they're experienced contributors who already have workflows, but there's actually quite a few. So that's really exciting. And then we're going to do the same exercise for new Fedora contributors to talk about, well, what are the pains they experience today, and then what are some gains that hubs could provide them. And just the whole, the point is just to get our heads into where the users are coming from for our discussions going forward. So, okay. Contributor pain, I am just going to put it there, is SSH keys. What is an SSH key?
What is IRC?
Yeah.
One could make a very strong argument about strong personalities of existing contributors.
Oh, yes.
Not everyone is welcome.
To the what is category, I think we should add what is a mailing list.
Yes.
Because that's increasingly a thing. Nobody knows.
I went to South by Southwest like 2 or 3 years ago. And do you guys know Jeffrey Zeldman? He's like this super famous web guru who's been around forever. I was reading his stuff like in the early 2000s when I was in school. And he, during his talk, he was talking about, because his website is alistapart.com, and because it started out as a mailing list and they turned into this online magazine that's very prestigious and whatever. And he said, yeah, the name List Apart came up because we were using a mailing list and we were trying to do some different things with it than mailing lists totally did. And he's like, nobody uses mailing lists anymore. I was just sitting there, yeah. So yeah, there are people who know what a mailing list is, and they don't think that that's a thing in 2015. So
I have a question about the points that we are listing at the moment. Is the problem the SSH key itself, the IRC, or the mailing list, or the documentation or the knowledge of the new tools, basically?
Well, I think part of it is that I can tell you from the onboarding designer's perspective, We'll get a designer in, and the way the design team works is that you have to complete a task in the design team before we accept your FAS application. So you've already done something for the team. So you're basically a full-fledged member of the team. And part of the privileges of becoming a member of Fedora team and contributing is getting the Fedora email address. So what happens is, I'm getting on Planet. We want to get people to be on Planet too. So one of the issues is that, and I know there's ways around this, but we're trying to get their account set up so that they can apply to FAS in the FAS group and we can give them the membership. And then we're trying to set them up with the email address and their Planet feed. And the problem is that they can't SSH into Fedora people to add the Planet file unless they have the SSH key. So it's they have to create the SSH key just for that, and then they never use SSH again, pretty much. I mean, there are some times when they'll use this Fedora people space, but I'm finding that less and less common, that they'll just upload it to ImageUR or Twitter or something, and they don't even need the space anymore. But I guess the main thing there is just getting the Planet config. And sometimes I'll add people to my Planet config. I'll just take their feed, but then it shows up as coming from me underneath because it's my FAS ID, so they don't like that. So that's where the SSH key comes in. But some of this stuff too, I think maybe the point should be made, a whole lot to learn in one go. Because it's just, there's so many things you have to do.
Because otherwise we're going to end up with a list of what is.
Right, yeah.
There are just way too many tools to list them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can keep going. You can go, what's a version control? What's a wiki? If someone just wants to contribute, something small, they might not even have experience with editing a wiki, you just go on forever.
Right.
So one I see odd is who can tell me what I need to do, or who can tell me how I can do something. Connecting people up.
Okay. That's a good one. Who can I ask about this thing? Should we have like, this is just a random idea, but should we have should the hubs have like a few gurus, almost like not moderators, but like that same sort of position where like if you really have no idea what you're doing, you could ask like one of these 3 people who like really know what's going on with this particular hub. Like, would that be a cool idea?
Like hub mentors?
Yeah, like mentors.
What do you think?
I think that's a really good idea.
Would it be a per team, or would it just be a hubs in like an overarching?
I think it should be hubs overarching, right? Because like, oh, you mean like the whole website? Or
I don't know.
Oh no, I meant like an individual hub.
Yeah, I think for individual hubs, whether it's a team hub or a project hub, right? My question would be, would there be a lot of overlap between that and the admins, or could we just expand the role of admins or even rename admins so they're the person that you contact?
I would say that the admins should be people focused with more technical and like actual moderated details, like dealing with databases and like what's stored and like doing things that aren't necessarily allowed by normal users. I was talking about just like mentors or gurus, like whoever said that said, where like, on like the sidebar of any hub, like I think if I understand it correctly, we're picturing like individual like hub, like main pages for each sort of project or group. And I think over at the right, it says like, it could say like, in the sidebar, these people like went to info team, like it'd be like 3Bean, Pingu, LMAC, and like are great people to contact and like know what's going on. And like if someone doesn't understand the hub or doesn't understand really anything, they can hit that person up in some way.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and it can also be sort of something to strive for. Like if you interact very positively in a productive way on the hub, then one of the admins could give you like a guru badge next to your name. I think that opensource.com does something like that. Like if you contribute good enough, you get like a little badge next to your name as like a, what do they call it? It's like it's not like site librarian, it's like site something, like, because they keep the peace, so they have like a little, so then whenever you interact with that person, you know that they've been recognized for being a decent, kind person. Yeah, no, I really like that idea, actually. That's really cool. And for hubs wide, I think the one idea that I'd had early on was maybe to have a hub that is just the help hub. Like the whole point of the hub is just for people to help people use hubs.
The meta page on Stack Exchange, there's a meta.stack exchange that is a Stack Exchange for talking about Stack Exchange. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's a thing we're missing on Ask for a long time. It's one of the problems with Ask, really.
It's like they have, Stack Exchange has got like Unix and Linux, and then there's like code, and then there's science and stuff like that. But they have a particular, basically a hub for people that are asking about the thing that runs Stack Exchange, so that would probably be useful, yeah.
I guess another one on the top of the who's who is what should I work on?
Yeah, and I think along those lines, what was it, like 7 years ago, we came up with the idea of task delegation based on skill.
Yes, that's right.
If we had a database, we knew what people's skills were and what skills they wanted to learn, we could easily throw mentors at them, throw tickets, projects, all sorts of things.
It's something we could build into hubs, like a little suggestion there.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, okay.
Patent.
Well, in the
building, so like building skills and goals into the profile.
Yeah.
I think there should be something addressing how to actually get in touch with them, because if that kind of rounds us back to like, what is IRC? What is a mailing list? Like here's people on hubs. You should ask them questions. What forum or what medium are you supposed to be asking questions in?
Oh yeah.
And would that tie into the in-page IRC functionality or similar? I just wanted to mention that because I was thinking about that. It's like so you've now told them who they should be talking to. We need to address how to appropriately contact.
Right.
So I would say if you're listed as a Hubs mentor, there would be like the Fedora Hubs IRC channel, and your name should be in there. And then when they get dropped in, because I was going to say just open up a private chat, but then no one else gets the benefit of the question of the new user. So having a standard lobby area where people get
I like
dropped
that.
into, where the hub mentors live. So it's like just kind of like understood that that's where people congregate around it.
We have an
That's-
IRC support SIG.
Right.
Oh, well, so,
That's very different from, or at least what I heard you saying, right? Which is that, like, where does the community for this thing live? Which is different from, I think, what you're talking about.
No, I was talking about like that, basically, exactly that.
What I really liked about what I heard you say.
Okay.
Like, one of the huge problems, I think, with all these kinds of communities is if you're coming in from the outside, especially if you have kind of more of a one-off sort of scenario, is you don't know where will people actually respond, right? So they all have mailing lists and IRC channels and, Google groups and whatever, right? But you want to know where they are actually at, right? So that you can kind of, in the least offensive way possible, bring up your bug or bring up your issue or whatever. And I think that's actually one of the things we had proposed for the developer site for Red Hat, to do that about like Python, right? Like, if I have a problem with Python, where do I go? Right.
Yeah.
well, the idea with hubs in general is that all the different teams have different ways and different places they hang out. And hubs is what makes it sort of levels it out. Like the admin for each team says, yeah, so we hang out in IRC, it's free node, it's this channel.
Right.
If the team doesn't use IRC, they just don't activate that widget on their hub. And then if they use mailing list, they would hook that mailing list into this hub system. And then the posts just show up on the hub. So you don't even have to sign up for the mailing list. You see the action taking place. So
Right.
across every single team, you can see what do they work on. It doesn't matter where the work takes place because hubs is
Well, I
going to
think
aggregate it all.
So I think there's if you want to fully join the community,
Yeah.
that makes sense, right?
Right.
But there's sometimes when you want to do a drive-by, right?
Right,
Or you're not
right.
sure yet, right?
Right.
And so what you want to know is where does the real time right,
Right.
now?
So in pain, it's hard to do drive-by contributions. It's kind of just a general.
Yeah, maybe.
And I think so.
We also want to figure out ways that drive-bys stop. We get fewer drive-bys and more park and have a meal.
Slash your tires before they
I'm gonna put that.
I didn't want to quite take the metaphor there, but
I'm gonna put that under experienced pain.
So,
Less drive
I mean, like,
bys.
there was the stupid problem I had with the planet the other day, right? Was I wanted to put 2 blogs on the planet. So I wandered by and I said, anybody know how to do this? And so I banged around until I figured it out, and then I updated the wiki page, and now I don't care anymore. And you're never going to convince me to care anymore about the planet.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Once you got it done, you're done.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I did, edit the wiki page so that the next person coming by would actually have the answer to this question.
Right.
Making that super simple, I think, you want to take advantage of any contribution somebody can make.
Right.
Even if you can't.
Yeah, it's all about the long tail.
You should get an MBA, Paul.
Right. I have an MBA, Master of the Base Arts.
Nice. Keeping down the low end.
Okay, so I guess the other thing is now figuring out how to get people to actually respond to Adam's original point. The one thing that we have in the current design is that IRC widget. So, you go to the hub, you see, for example, all the cool things the design team's working on. You're like, oh, I want to ask the design team a question. The design team IRC channel is going to be right there, and you can just pop in and non-committally just ask a question. And if people are in there, I think that that's better than addressing mentors individually for the reasons Remy said, right, is that you want everybody to benefit. Right. But the other thing is it's way more likely you're going to get a response if you hit a larger pool of people.
Absolutely.
So
the IRC widget a live web-based IRC thing, or is it the point? Nice.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
It would be cool, I think, if we could do the same sort of pane of glass to shine through to other third-party proprietary services like Google Plus. There's communities out there and on Facebook too, but we're running into problems with do we want to endorse those things by linking to our site? And then there's authentication problems with if we want to post as viewed to Google Plus, then we need to have your key. There's a lot more dancing that has to go on.
Yeah. Well, then they changed Facebook turned off their Jabber.
Yeah.
So all this stuff broke.
So one of the IRC pains beyond what is IRC is IRC Nick like Nick serve and setting those things up, which we've probably done before and don't have to worry about it ever again. But if you have a web-based widget, you do I have to authenticate myself to Nick serve?
We'll probably give you like some. I haven't really thought about it, but some permutation on your fast name. So if I'm Ralph and fast, I'll be Ralph-Hubs when I'm logged in through Hubs. And we have a hosted CNC solution that Retina India's been working on.
Will I be able to tell it my normal Nick and kind of save my Nick server?
I haven't thought that through yet.
Yeah.
What would happen if you're looking at Hubs and you're in your IRC client? You have to ghost yourself. Time, like how do you? Yeah, is it
tail?
Right.
Your idea for the idea bucket. Sorry, go.
Yeah.
Did you have?
Oops, you cut out, David.
Oh, okay. I would just a random idea for the idea bucket. I think that there should be a way for people to, with incredibly like the most minimal contribution, like indicate that they are interested in working on something. Like kind of like how you star a repo on GitHub where you're like kind of interested but you don't want to watch it. Like I think if users, like especially new users with the most minimal amount of signing up for things could like be like, oh, maybe I could like fulfill this ticket, just like ticket, like by clicking a single button. And then, even if it didn't do anything major, people who were in charge of the hub would like get a notification or something like that, like the gurus or whatever. And if they saw that somebody ticked it, they could maybe send them an email or something like that and help them out. I don't know. That's just a thought.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Like a follow.
Even just stealing GitHub's star idea, and then we can have an algorithm that's like pre-populated an entire dashboard based on the things you've starred.
Or vice versa. That's actually, you can see what's the coolest thing in Fedora Hubs based on user activity.
Have you seen Trello?
Yeah, that's good too.
Trello's got like kind of a pinning mechanism. Basically, it's like you've got all the boards that you're connected to, just kind of in a big list, right? But then you can kind of say, oh yeah, this one, and this one bubbled to the top.
Have you seen Tyga? Because it's pretty sweet.
Tyga's pretty awesome. It's still behind Trello, but it's getting there. We're talking about moving to it.
So this is actually, that interaction sounds like something that Megan was working on with or maybe I should show the mock-up. Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
the Tyga instance.
Some random.
No, Patrick, they took it down and gave it a new IP. There's a reboots.
Sad face.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we can't.
It does.
Sorry, they're all
because Ralph's
weirdly.
Well, which one is a good one to show the tabs?
Which interaction are you talking about?
Oh, just the tabs across the top and how we have them in alpha order or this or that.
That's
So it makes it very challenging.
edit hubs list.
Okay.
Magic Gathering. TAIG.
I don't know if GitHub's
Is that what it's
showing
from?
nice.
I thought it's like some.
No, it's like
It's some South American.
Oh, well,
In some language.
good enough. I'll zoom in.
Argentinian. Or something.
It was a.
Oh, actually, yeah, it's not showing the full. Okay, here's what. So I'll just open up the raw.
This is your out loud voice, right?
Oh yeah, I'm on the internet.
Of course, it doesn't say
Just to be
right.
clear.
White and red.
Dual map.
Don't mind me.
Did anybody else, when they first went into Firefox preferences lately, went, whoa? Because they got rid of the gray box.
Yeah.
It's now like.
Brother, I don't even know how to find Firefox preferences anymore, man.
When you do get there,
I'm still old school. I still do Alt-E-N.
It's got a facelift.
Okay, so what you were saying about the Trello boards, Langdon, reminded me of, so we have this issue with the actual how you navigate across the different hubs you're a member of. So people can be a member of a hub, that means like they join the team, they're part of the FAST group, or they can be a follower. Basically, it shows up in their list of hubs. They get updates like you see the little 18, like if something new happens in that hub, then they'll be notified. Oh, actually, it's so tiny you can't see it, so let me zoom in a bit. So it's like this is your list of hubs, and you get kind of a little notification that there's some update going on there. Right. And
Should there be a different level of notification between following a hub and being a member of a group?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Starring versus watching on GitHub.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking. And then
Starring
you
versus
get
watching.
levels of watching too.
Okay.
Yeah, starring will if you go to GitHub, it'll be in your inbox there. But watching, it'll send you an email every time something changes.
Oh, okay. So let's see.
So one quick comment about that, about the notify thing. I'm not sure if I need another thing that is telling me that I am way the hell behind. Because I'm afraid that little number up there is going to be like 3,000 really fast.
Oh,
mark all the thread.
Right. Please leave me alone. So I don't know if you guys want to think about that from a graphical treatment perspective, but like that, the little me guy,
So maybe rather than have a number, just like a little dot or something.
Maybe.
So just there's new content here, but don't feel guilty.
But don't stress me out.
Okay, yeah, that's a good.
that's
Let me write that down. And
Zimbra the little site icon for Zimbra, this webmail thing, it actually puts a little red number there that's supposed to tell you the number of messages that you have, but it basically just always says 9+ all the time.
That's what K9 mail on my phone. It just says 99+.
Yeah, all of them. I don't understand why I have this notification on my phone on every single app that says 99+. Like.
Okay, so anyway, the problem is, of course, people are going to be subscribed to way more hubs than we can display in a horizontal nav, which is fine, whatever. The original model that this was going after was a bit like Reddit, but when Megan did some investigation into how Reddit works, there's actually no place to manage how stuff shows up in Reddit. Like, it'll just scroll off, and there's like a place that people go, but the main way, I think, and tell me if I'm getting this wrong, the main way people get to the different Reddit things that they're subscribed to is just through the notifications. Like, you get a notification or something new, you click on it, and then it brings you over to that space.
Yeah, right. So I don't actually use Reddit, but I clicked around trying to copy, and then I was like, I don't want to copy this because it seemed like it was mostly on the main feed that you get the things, and then you can follow subreddits and subscribe and unsubscribe, and there's a good interface for managing what you follow, but then the things across the top display just completely irrelevant of what you're following, and then there's a drop down in the upper and the left where you can look at your subscriptions, but it's just completely alphabetical no matter what you do, and then you don't get notifications there, you get them just on your homepage, which works well for what it is, but I felt like people on hubs would want more control than just an alphabetical list. So
this is what we did, is what Megan did, is just making it so you could drag the order that they showed up in. But I wonder if something where you're actually in the hub and you star it and that makes it crawl to the front, maybe that's a better model.
Or it's a suggestion, right? So it's when you star it, it puts it at the top, but you can still push it down again. Right? Just because it was starred kind of jumps it to the top of the pile, but you still have full control over rearranging. Right?
So if you have a handful of things that are starred and you want to order those,
you should be able to do it. So maybe both or something.
Kind of marry the ideas if possible.
Well, then the other thing that we were thinking is, so by default, we're going to have existing users, and they already belong to a lot of fast groups. So by default, people's nav is going to be stacked with all the teams that they're members of. And then once they start clicking follow on things, then the follows are going to be stacked after that. For new users, it'll be different, but for the existing users, a lot of them. And then, so when you subscribe, as a follower to a new hub, it gets tacked on the end. Or does it go alpha? Or does it go to the follow section and then there's a member section? And we talked about all the different dynamics that we could put into place there. And then we just figured, just make it dumb. It's in chronological order. And then if you want to change it, you go in and you change it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Because I figured it would be more predictable. You don't want stuff just showing up randomly. Why is that there now?
Did you say, is there, does it make sense to at least offer the ability to hide them?
So it doesn't show up.
So I may be a member of some things that I don't check on very often or ever, at least in this method, right?
My thought would just be moved to the bottom of the list. It won't show up in the nav bar.
It's just an idea. Or I thought.
Yeah, I thought about that, but then I was like, well, if you unhide something, because then how are you going to get it back? I guess if you ever, if your project goes dead for a year and then it starts back up again and you're unfollowed, you might not notice that it,
Well, it could be now if a project, because we talked about the notion of a project getting archived once nobody's working on it anymore. Maybe if it's archived, then whoever has it in their nav, it goes away from the nav.
Yeah.
Just some kind of follow through.
Or the other one I like is the Trello interface. Trello has an option that if your cards have aged enough, they go pirate. which means that they turn into like old paper, like, and so it gets progressively older looking, which I find amusing.
So
except that
when you
all
have
of
new
them
content,
like
it's
that.
very bright in color and hue, and as time goes on, it kind of starts to gray.
Yeah.
And then when you look at things in overview and you have multiple items, you can
know
see,
right away visually what's
you can
the
visually
oldest.
see what's new and what's old. That I am a big fan
Or
of.
collapsing,
You have
right?
another
Is another
great
one too,
mode,
as I was thinking.
pirate mode. It's got 2 modes depending on whether how schemorphic you like your Trello to be, I guess.
Oh, actually, yeah. So I can show you my resume.
Which is also pirate.
Which is the only example I can think of off the top of my head of this. But
Can I do it up here? Or can you put it on my browser so everybody can see?
If I can find it. Yeah, give me a second. I'll save it. Maybe I can just explain it. But basically, kind of using the same idea is that. So when I was doing my resume a long time ago, I realized it didn't look like I'd ever worked anywhere for longer than like 2 months because I was a consultant so much, right? And I jumped around. I did a bunch of startups and like all this other shit. So I actually put a timeline on my resume, which if I can find it.
There's apparently like a Ralph Lauren item called Langdon, and it comes in white. So.
Well, there's a kind of nursing shoes that are very popular that are white and they're called Langdon.
Oh, jeez.
So it's always been very funky.
Well, that must be hard for you having to search that name on the internet.
Yeah, it's kind of entertaining. I think I have most of the front page of Google now, which
Is it
there's
a
some geologist who was ahead of me for a while.
Is it a PDF or?
Yeah, it's PDF.
There's some hack writer with my name that takes all my glory.
Yeah, I think that's you.
There was a guy, there was a Matthew Miller who went to Korea and got himself arrested, so now he's going to be in North Korea, and so he's now going to be the Matthew Miller for all of the things for some time.
I'll just send you my resume.
Mine is a hack horror writer and a mediocre screenplay writer.
There's thousands of
Not
people
a
with
lot
my
of
name.
remedies
Just Megan Richardson's, just hundreds of, like, just so many. Like, it just changes, and it's never me.
Well, see, my trick is I spell my name in Gaelic. Nobody does that, so there we go.
I've got an unnecessary age, and that doesn't even narrow it down that much. It's just.
Well, I had to make new key mappings so I could write your name properly.
I'm a pain. Yes.
Mo, are you M. Duffy
emails?
Duffy at.
Just Duffy?
Yeah. Hold on, let me turn off screen sharing just because there might be something in my email that wouldn't be good.
I'm sure there's about a billion other, of this concept, but it's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Oops. So basically what it does is it collapses as it goes further back in time.
Did you send it?
I'm working on it.
Oh, okay.
It's computers, which I'm not very good at. The other thing is, if I'm on the Red Hat Wi-Fi, my VPN drops every 10 minutes, which I find a feature. All right, you should have it.
Okay.
The entire system just crashed.
Okay, hold on. Da-da-da.
Get it?
Yeah, but now I have to turn screen sharing back on because I did turn it off, right?
Looks like it.
Is it not an option anymore? Oh, there it is. It's under the People tab because that makes sense. Okay. There we go.
So if you look at the graphic on the right-hand side, actually, if you zoom out, it'll actually show it better. So if you see how it collapses in history,
yeah.
So if you did kind of the same thing, you could kind of collapse all the hubs towards the bottom that haven't had updates over time, right?
Right.
That's all I was thinking.
Oh,
It was
okay.
a lot more effort than it was worth.
That's all good. Okay, cool. All
Now
right.
you have my resume in case you need it.
Ooh.
Something.
Okay. So let's see where we were. Okay. So we're talking about contributor pane, and let me just check the time so we know where we're at. Oh, it's already 10. Okay. Well, we're actually going over a little bit, but we should probably at least have some gains for new contributors. So I would think that some of these are going to be the same.
And a compass.
Yeah. A map with a compass. A place to go to see what. Well, here, I'll put this as a different one. So, like, my main thing about it, especially, again, onboarding designers, is you can actually see what a team works on and determine if it's the type of work you want to do ahead of time. So, like, you just see, oh, this is what they work on. Okay, I want to join this. You can kind of get a visual for what they do.
No longer be overwhelmed trying to join up with a team.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel that's really important. Like, I think that people take a big step in just like going into IRC or whatever and saying, hey, what's this that I could be working on? And I think that that's like a big personal step for them. And then we like dump a bunch of garbage onto them about like go to this page and do this thing, and like I think that just totally throws people off. So I think that's a really important point.
Like walk in their desk and like, you know, they call you up and then you come over to them and say, hey, nice to meet you. And you drop like 50 pounds of like books and stacks of paper and say, all right, just take a look at this and get back to us.
Just people say like, I want to add this thing to Fedora Tagger, and then we're like, all right, cool. So first just learn how to program, and then after you're done with that, it should only take a couple days. Like go ahead to this wiki page and sign up for this, and like, you know, it's ridiculous. Like it's a huge step, I think, for anyone to say that they're good at anything, or like even to put their foot out there. And then I think this is what's really going to help us, is that it's going to make people feel comfortable, you know. This is how
high-level view of the stuff you're interested in is also a major gain.
Oh, yeah. High-level view of things across Fedora.
This is something huge that no other Linux project has, and if we like make people feel comfortable, then that's more than like pretty much anybody else does, you know. So I think that's a big gain. What Paul said.
Anyway, we're not gonna take the Linus Torvalds view of it can't
trial by fire.
Trial by fire. We're gonna make sure that only the really dedicated stay.
Did we check I don't know what is it? The guy who put things in the text thing on.
Oh, right. Good call.
Mm-hmm.
The
Nask had put some ideas for new contributors. Let's see. All right, so he said for beginning contributors, it's confusing because you get a set of steps and I'll say, go to the wiki, read this. Then you read the wiki. Then the wiki says to go to some third place, right? So let's see, we would say it's sort of like a more streamlined onboarding flow.
Comments are the worst.
The
worst, the comments in Blue Jeans. They're not persisted anywhere. They're not, yeah.
Well, like if you're in a thing, you don't get a notification.
What about the idea that, well, I don't know, this kind of maybe speaks to the streamlining thing, but wow, you know, now I don't have to go, you know, install a bunch of utilities or other stuff that I may not be used to in order to be a functioning member of a team. Like basically I could do a lot more of it through my web browser, which is kind of the de facto work tool for just about everything that's modern nowadays.
Right. Well, and then as sort of an add-on to that, don't need to figure out IRC to communicate, and also, of course, this is the case with HyperKitty anyway, but don't need to subscribe to mailing lists and have to filter stuff as to not drown.
In short, removing meta work.
Yeah.
Is real time on there? Because it should be.
Real time
Updates for the stuff that's happening through Fed message.
Oh yeah, and actually that's another thing is like the documentation that exists is often well out of date.
Right. That goes to the aging thing as well, and sometimes there's a whole sub-projects that are dead. In fact, not.
But you could not tell. The Fedora board site was all up on the wiki after the council had started, and I didn't even.
They put a little thing at the top. But
I put that. Yes.
Right. Put it on top of the pages, but yeah, I missed the main one. I don't know. Right. Yeah. So, and there's like, the Fedora join sig is dead, which is bad.
Did it ever live though?
What's that?
Did it ever live?
It lived long enough to have a nice wiki page, and that's all. Because that's, yeah. So I think that's actually possibly a risk here, because if it's making it easy to set up a hub for a new community, people who are excited about something will set up the hub, and then it never gets momentum. So.
But if it never gets momentum, it'll appear old. Like there won't be posts on it. If nothing's going on in the mailing list, then the content area should kind of be blank.
Right, which is,
or like I was saying in the other meeting, do something sort of like Trello where it kind of
yeah. Actually, that's like, a really let me put that as
some visual cue that this is rotting.
Yeah, and also a visual cue that something is new and not active yet might be the other side of the same thing. But yeah, I think I think this helps address that as a pain point. So it's a gain. We just didn't write the pain down.
Okay, cool. Anything else, or we can finish up our game?
Who won?
I think the users.
Nice.
Hopefully. Okay, so I can make this available probably via blog post after today. Okay, so next, Ralph, if you wanted to do the demo, the prototype.
Sure, how should I do that?
Can you do, I think anybody can screen share if you're in the BlueJeans URL.
Actually in the BlueJeans.
Yeah, so if you do the BlueJeans URL and just say you're connected by phone so it doesn't do all the mic feedback stuff, and then it should have a share button.
Where's the BlueJeans?
The URL, can someone drop the URL in Fedora.host?
I can do that, let's see.
Got it.
Oh, you got it, okay.
That's me, I got it.
So, sign on the phone and send video is the option?
Yes.
Whoever's responsible for Xorg is in big trouble. That's the second time it's crashed this morning.
Oh,
Well,
hey David, are
you using Wayland?
David, is that happening when the when Mo closes the presentation, it's crashing for you?
I think it might be the second
That
time.
happened to me. Yeah, it happened to me several times yesterday too. It's actually, I think this is actually a BlueJeans plugin problem that's the folks are looking into it right now because it happened to me a couple times yesterday for the same reason.
Saying everything doesn't work out of the box.
No, we're saying third-party proprietary software is breaking crap again.
I've actually found BlueJeans to cause internal oopses on Intel i915 chipsets, which is fun.
Yep. And Intel everything else chipsets too.
There you go.
Oh man. I see us on your computer.
Xorg X11 server quit unexpectedly. Is that what you got, Paul?
Sorry?
Did you get Xorg X11 server quit unexpectedly?
Yeah, I think I went back to my session errors and that's what I found too.
Cool. Yeah, it just takes a minute to refresh. Cool.
Hey, Prof. Yeah, thank you for the link. To start, I guess this is the kind of overall diagram of the prototype of basically how it works, missing some pieces right now, but then how it should work more generally. To start on the right-hand side at the bottom where it says the Hubs WSGI app, that's the main part of what's implemented right now.
All right.
Which I have as a Flask app that just serves a couple endpoints that serve a page for the hub, and then a whole bunch of successive endpoints to serve page fragments for the individual widgets that go on that page. It's still up in the air what we're going to do for the web client portion. Right now it's dumb just using jQuery like all the apps we usually build, but it's I think it would be possible to use Angular or Ember or something like that. None of us have any real strong opinions yet, I think, on which way to go with that. But moving down, there would be on the left, there is that section called the Hubs backend, and that all of the data in the system I'm proposing should be stored in this memcached store right in the middle. And the Hubs backend is primarily concerned with refreshing the cache that's kept in memcached, but that it would be totally ephemeral. We could restart that and lose all the data, but then just have it be rebuilt on the fly as soon as it's started up and as soon as pages are requested that need data for them. More durably, below memcached, we would have Postgre for storing the actual configuration of the hubs and widgets themselves. So the design team hub and what it looks like would be kept there and would be stored. In this diagram, if people have the URL, you can go and look at it too. I can start this up locally for a look at it, but there's some like data stories that go below this. Excuse me. That talk about like what happens in a certain scenario. So just to look at this first one, if the user requests a page, the WSGI app responds with some HTML and enough JavaScript to get off the ground. Let's see. Walk through this. Yeah, as the page, well, let me run it and then we'll revisit these. So this is the mock-up of the design team's hub that I stole from SVG and then just converted to this. Wait, this is not.
Yeah, why is it not showing up?
Did you
different
share
browser
a desktop versus like share one window?
No, because you get to see the whole
Yeah, it's the
browser.
whole
It's like
desktop.
a new tab in my browser that is not showing up now.
I wonder if your thing froze.
I could restart screen sharing.
Yeah, maybe try that.
I'm reconnecting.
Yeah.
So it's loading the current weather.
Yeah, it's broken shell extension.
That's fun.
A question in the meanwhile. Do we actually plan to have the application working without JavaScript?
Sorry, I wasn't listening. What's the question?
I was wondering if we would support hubs running without JavaScript or with JavaScript disabled.
Well, the current prototype completely relies on JavaScript. So, yeah, it would be 100% JavaScript.
I mean, could you really do the widgets and things with like the IRC widget and things like that without JavaScript?
No.
Well, a lot of them, like Angular and those guys, a lot of them have failback modes that are not terrible. So like personally, what I would say is, if you get it out of the box, sure. If you don't, sorry.
I mean, what's the concern, I guess, about running without JavaScript? Because I know there's some accessibility issues with some ways of doing things in JavaScript, but as long as your front-end design accounts for that, you don't have to worry about that.
It's mostly people being anti-JavaScript because of anti-advertising or anti-tracking.
No script.
Well, if it works with what we ship out of the box, then who cares?
I don't personally think it's a big deal.
People who are like visually impaired, they can't actually look at it, so they rely on a screen reader.
So like there's some JavaScript calls that are like on click is no good, but then certain ones are, and it's something where if it's taking a certain signal, there's certain types of signals that like hardware for visually impaired users can't send.
I thought most of the libraries.
Yeah, I mean if you're using a framework on top, you're probably okay, but it's one of those things
It's
you have
something
to
to
be
give
careful
it a
about.
try, but
Well, like for example, like when Megan mocked up the thing to click and drag different things, you can't just rely on click and drag. You have to have explicit buttons as well, because depending on how they're accessing it, they're not even going to know where to click to drag. Like drag motions are very problematic.
yeah, it's definitely something we have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
But it's but I think like a lot of the library, jQuery, and like a lot of them have pretty strong support for that without you knowing about it.
Well, I don't think you always get it for free though, because again, like
It's worth running it through it.
Right.
And of course, all of it should work with just purely VI keys, right?
Yes.
Can we get really, like...
For experienced users.
Nobody laughed
like,
at that, but like...
No, yeah, totally do it.
I was serious. We've got it in Tagger. Yeah, Tagger works that way.
I'm going to put that on the...
I use Mutator in Thunderbird. I use Vimperator in Firefox. I have my i3...
Preaching the choir, man.
And my i3 keys set up VI. Like, I know I'm preaching... Like, I know you get it, but I'm explaining to the room why I would like that to be taken seriously.
What I'm trying to say is that if you use a Vim-style browser on top of a Vim app, then like your VI keys, which one?
Well, so on site, I can exclude the Vim extensions in my browser for certain sites, and I already do that for like certain sites that I have per web app preferences set.
Cool.
That's a whole rabbit hole.
So can we make sure it works in a text browser though, just because if I'm trying to save battery, I switch to using a text-only browser.
E-links.
Yeah. I can't believe how much debate there was about which one is the best one on the internet, because I was trying to repick recently.
I think E-links is probably the best. W3M can display images in the
I couldn't get it to work.
The frame buffer though.
Yeah, you guys gotta check out WDB or DWB.
Oh yeah, DWB is the bomb.
Best
What?
one.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Is that new?
DWB is the best one, and it's got tons of plugins. It's wild. Yeah, we're getting off topic, but yeah, DWB, check it out.
You see my screen?
Yes.
Wait for it. Yeah, cool.
Sir.
Cool.
Oh, this is exciting.
So this is the prototype the way it looks. You can see the widgets loading asynchronously. The only reason they do that is because there's like they go to sleep for a couple seconds when you try and load them to show that they come in asynchronously. And then this is all data that's stored in the database, but it doesn't like come from anywhere like exciting. Like so the goof owners here are just hard coded in the populated script. They don't actually come from FAS where we would want goof owners to come from. And so this shows that, based on the mockups, we would want to put the bar at the top that has all the different hubs you're a member of. There's no mechanism for authentication here yet, so I'm not logged in to have a set of hubs that I'm subscribed to, but I can add that. I guess the look at like stats. The place I think that's too small to see, right? The place to make decisions about the prototype at this point, I think, is what it takes to actually write a new widget, because at the end of the day, we're going to put most of our work into writing all the widgets to make each page useful for everybody. And so this, the way I've got it organized right now is that every widget has to define a data function that gets called with a session object and then information about the widget itself. And then it just needs to be able to return some JSONifiable Python code. So that is what gets stored in memcached and is the central object between which the WSGI app and the backend communicate. So when things change, like say in FAS, a new admin is added to the design team, FAS is going to emit a fed message which will tell the backend to go and find the cache for this JSON blob and nuke it and then rebuild it, and then use WebSockets to push that information to clients to say reload that widget, so then the number will go from 7 to 8 for the number of people on the page, if that makes any sense. So, and then just trying to think about that, trying to make everything simple around that data function. If you can write a data function that can return some JSON and then write a template that data should be plugged into to render the page, then that should do it.
Have you thought about using something like Tosca widgets?
Yes, I have. Let's not do that. Meta classes.
Been there. We tried to do this years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. This is simpler, right? There's no unnecessary inheritance, no unnecessary meta classes to confuse all that stuff. Another part that I didn't mention is the should invalidate function. All widgets need to define that, which is what the backend uses to figure out when a message comes along. Say it's a message about, Steven edited a wiki page. That doesn't actually affect the owners of the design team widget, and so this function needs to return false based on the information that Steven just edited a wiki page. No, I should invalidate.
So you pass in what information you have to update, and it will pass back false if that's not the information that is
Right, that
affected.
I care about.
Yeah.
Just return true and when.
So every Fed message has to go through every widget.
Right.
Is that going to be
a performance problem?
Yeah.
And so we'll need to do a fan out, fan in pattern to like have the
Map
we'll have a
reduce
bunch
to
of
do.
workers and yeah.
We need a cluster for this.
Right. we need a Redis queue.
Yeah.
Stop.
Are we like Hadoop in our browser? Is that what's happening? Are we like porting Hadoop to JavaScript?
Oh, I'm sure it's already been done.
No, you crossed the line.
Rocking PGP.js.
I want to cry a little bit.
Is that what Facebook uses to do?
No, they do some really crazy custom stuff.
Oh, okay. Because I know Hadoop is somewhere in their infrastructure.
Probably. It's like in everybody's infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's really.
I think Apache Spark is the new hot.
But like 98% of them don't need it.
Really?
Yeah.
It would be overkill here. I think actually Fedora's data about kind of customer usage is probably better, and you could do some interesting stuff with.
Yeah, we could do we could do it in a Postgres database. Like it's unless you get to some point where you have over then like.
Well, that's where we're at because in the web message database there's 26 million messages growing daily.
Can't we make this constant time?
Query.
It's better when it's when you want to spin the queue that is where it destroys things like Postgres.
I mean, can't we actually just make this like you said, a fan out sort of thing? Just scale it out to however many processors we've got, and just.
I think we can make this constant time using a dictionary lookup. Just take the topic, throw it in a dictionary, and say true. And that's it.
Well, because if we can do that, let's totally do it. But I was thinking, like, for this, it's not just that, like, so this example message is for if there's this new Fed message that doesn't exist yet called hubs.hub.update. That'll get published by the front end anytime a hub gets updated. So an admin goes in and changes something about it. It's not just that the topic is a certain topic, but it's that the name in the JSON body is a certain name. It's this hub, not the other hub. And so I couldn't figure out how to map that to a dictionary to like be able to hash messages that way.
I think it's solvable. We'll just have to bash our faces
Didn't
against.
somebody write a pub sub JavaScript in browser bus?
Actually, a literal hash might not be the worst thing ever. Just concatenate the topic in the function.
Meteor is
and then hash
a
that.
nice JavaScript front end in browser to MongoDB.
Right, because it's not just always the topic, is what I was.
Right, but I thought it was
in the
like a
body.
pub sub type thing, yeah.
It is, but to the server.
Start with the topic that
Actually, you could use it.
Perhaps we're
Right, like you get a subset.
I meant-
I'm going to
maybe
suggest that
none
we're
of the
browser.
browser.
Default div.
Oh,
Go into that.
Yeah, so it's like a hint.
No
It's like
idea.
the should invalidate and then here's my.
Because the proper what you can do here is solve
Let's take a note that there's a known like.
Hey guys,
Not solved right
guys,
now.
I think we just got it.
guys, there's like 3 conversations going on. It's really hard to hear what people are talking
We
about.
just solved all the problems.
No, so okay,
Awesome.
the main
Oh,
theme
that's
for the past maybe minute or two is just that we have it. Yeah, exactly. There's a performance issue in every time data gets updated that we have to see what widgets are out there across all the different hubs that need updating. Every single one we have to knock on the door. Do you have this data? So that's a performance issue, and we will figure it out at some point.
But it's fun to
We have
figure
each
it
of
out.
them.
Yes, it's very fun.
We have each of them register which ones they care about into a separate place.
Yeah. Right. And now it's run this code to figure out what register.
And I mean, I hope that there would be a very small set that would say, I have to know everything.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. So that's it. Another consideration to make here. Wait, see,
That's the whole widget?
That's the whole widget. So there's a should invalidate, there's a data function, and then there's a template right now, which is a Jinja 2 template. Based on like thinking about the design and making the diagram, I'm pretty sure that for the first time in any of our apps, we want to move to client-side templates. So use JavaScript to do the templating. And the reason is
We did that in the past with Fedora Community.
no, it was still server-side templates. So with page fragments.
We had the jQuery template. J5 implemented client-side templating for some stuff.
Cool. All right. Right on.
Using a jQuery plugin or something. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well, so what I'm thinking about for this, if I could go back, see the diagram, which you can see. Say the message comes along that Steven updated a track ticket and that affects a widget on the page. When he first hit the page, he's the web client on the top right. He went to the app, got the data that came back, and now he's got the widget on the page. The track ticket updated, which comes through the bus on the left, goes into this this backend, and needs to then get pushed over WebSockets to his client. That can involve a whole bunch of garbage communication if we don't do client-side templates. So like the data comes across, something changed. Okay, go and get the new HTML fragment, put it back. Go and get the template. I've got the data, then put it together on the client. It'd be simpler if all the templates are already there on the client. And they can
you should definitely look at Angular.
Yeah, so
that's the more popular one too.
It is.
Ember.
There's Mask Zero, if he's still online, has a lot of experience with Angular and has been pushing it in IRC. Some of the problems that aren't blockers for it are things that like Angular 2 is coming out this year, and there's no migration path from 1.3 to 2. 2 is expected. The rumors are that it's going to include browser features only present in Chrome, so that if you want to use it, you have to use Chrome, which won't work for our user base. This is a rumor. I don't know if it's actually true. And that it has this all-in aspect to it, where it has its own event loop. There's the browser, the native event loop, and then it does its own event loop on top of that to do two-way data binding between your data model and your templates. So you can't use just a little bit of Angular; you have to use a lot of Angular.
Yeah, I'm about 90% chance of going to QCon next week, which is a kind of developer conference. I'll ask around.
Cool.
See what they say.
The just templates, like just that part of it, would be handlebars.js, and we got a little bit of experience with it like a month ago, enough to be able to say that was cool. Let's do it again. But Angular, everyone likes Angular, so maybe.
Yeah. I think, although I do think Ember is more modular. I think I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at these. So.
Yeah, but if it requires Chrome.
Yeah, and that's Angular 2, and do we bother with Angular 1.3, which does work everywhere?
Right.
If it's going to be end of life at some point, they say it's not going to be yet.
I don't know, a big backer of Angular is Microsoft, so I'd be a little surprised if it went Chrome only. You know, because they just launched a new browser. Because why not?
Just launched a new browser?
Microsoft. They're in Seattle. Edge. Big software company.
Is that important?
No, I just thought it was funny. But they're not adopting Chrome as like their preferred, right? They just launched a new browser. They're a big backer of Angular. Well, they're a big backer of TypeScript, which is what Angular is mostly built in.
Angular 2 is going to be built on top of AtScript.
Really?
Yeah. Which is a Google thing. Like,
yeah.
TypeScript.
Oh.
Yeah. And they're both backwards compatible with JavaScript. They're like
right. Because
refinements on JavaScript.
I thought they were collaborating a lot more, is what I had heard. How long ago did you hear that?
I read that about AppScript like 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. All right,
awesome.
Yeah, because 3 weeks ago there was much Google and Microsoft love on TypeScript and Angular. So
okay,
that's why I'm a little surprised.
Okay.
I mean, I have no prejudice against Chrome, but we can't ship it in Fedora, and whatever we do should be out of the box Fedora doable.
Right.
We're like.
Yeah, I know this is.
Well, and I'm asking Mask if he knows.
Like anything that is browser specific is out of the question for us. Period. I mean, like. We ship spins that have, like, for instance, XFCE doesn't even come with Firefox. It comes with Midori. Like, we have to have something that is applicable across all platforms, like, regardless of if people have Chrome or not, obviously, right?
So Nask doesn't think it's going to be limited to Chrome. I asked
You had a notification pop up for Blue Jeans chat. I've never seen anybody.
It prompts me when I log in. Do you want to show notifications? I said yes.
Oh, sorry. I've never seen that.
I told it yes, and it doesn't show them.
It's just like some
Yeah.
Well,
anyway, Nask thinks that it's not going to be Chrome only.
Computer saving.
So.
It'd be pretty surprising.
Yeah.
But
well, it seems like a good way to kill a framework is to make it browser specific.
I mean, it also seems like a good salacious rumor that I read on the wrong forum somewhere.
Right.
You know.
Right. But if
I
they're
don't know.
going with the Google whatever thing that competes with the Microsoft thing, then it's, I don't know what's going on, guys.
I'll Google for it later.
It's all good.
But the only plausible reason for it is that there is a very large percentage of web developers who use Chrome exclusively because it's got so much better developer tools.
Not recently. I mean, Firefox has gotten some pretty sweet tools that are pretty
The problem is getting the people back, right?
I guess for the prototype, I guess I'm like seeking a blessing on the implementation as it is now, so we can start like actually iterating on it with multiple people. Because right now it's just been me on it, and I'm kind of waiting for some people to say cool or not cool, and then if it is cool, then we can start figuring out the front end questions and the event source server and things like that aren't implemented yet.
I trust the 3bean.
I don't know anything about architecture, but it looks good.
Got it running on my box. It works perfectly fine, and I've been playing around with it a little bit. I guess and the only thing that even comes to mind, I think it looks good, but in final production, obviously, we're gonna want to like have some sort of smoother transition between like the widgets not being there and the widgets being there, because like right now they just sort of pop in. But I mean that's like a technical thing, so that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, right on.
The only other consideration, at least, would be, and you probably had this by accident, but it'd be kind of cool if you were not reliant on the base page. Like, so could we pick up the widgets and put them on the desktop? Could we pick up the widgets and put them on, a phone, right? So in other words, try to figure out a way to at least consider an individual widget not being with its friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which I think you'll get based on the architecture kind of by accident, but...
Yeah, we have to have different templates for different environments, but in data we get mushed into all of them.
So you'd have the different templates in the widget, and it would pick the right one based on where it was displaying.
So you have a node extension with whichever hub you want to keep on your desktop, right?
I understand it right now, though, the widgets are pretty modular. It's not the core functionality is monolithic, but everything else is pretty separate. I mean, in my opinion, Ralph did a pretty good job of setting it up. So, I mean, if we wanted to split up the plugins into like individual, repos or installations or whatever, or even like make them more code friendly to like literally putting on like, your KDE desktop or checking out on Fedora mobile, then I mean, I don't think that's too far off. I think that a lot of the calls that we have, like our widgets are all involved with things that have APIs like Bugzilla and GitHub. So, I mean, all that code that pulls that data is like, I mean, you could put it anywhere. So I think that we're set up pretty well right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess the only reason I was mentioning it, I mean, that's kind of what I was saying, is like, I think you've got it. The only reason I'm mentioning it is just, it might be, keep it in the back of your mind in case you do come across a decision where you might be breaking that rule.
Fair enough.
One of the things about the current design is that it uses event source, which is a very web-specific technology for doing the push notifications about when you should refresh yourself. And so that wouldn't translate to like a KDE desktop or a GNOME desktop. But we already do have live pipes that could connect to those environments, like the raw 0MQ stuff for FedMessage. But that would involve some rethinking, because the event source is pushing like a hub-specific layer of information, like this widget has updated, whereas FedMessage is pushing like a description of data that's one level lower than that, like this ticket has updated in this.
Right.
Cool. That's such a hypothetical that maybe we shouldn't take it on this point.
Yeah. It depends, right? It might just work. It also might not. But I personally, right? If this is what you want it to be, I don't think it's that hypothetical. But particularly desktop widget of some kind. I have a really small window in my browser.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to get off track, but Fedora Hubs is probably going to have its own API of sorts. It's going to at least be admitting its own Fed messages. So if people want to have any sort of widget in any environment that wanted to display information the Hubs is connected to, which theoretically, based on what we're saying, is all of our services, then that would be really easy to develop.
Right. So it might just be a reimplementation, but maybe it's something you can clone from or whatever. I don't know. It's a particularly
Yeah, we like you said, we just want to keep it in mind, make sure things that are adaptable, since it's our what we hope to be an entry point for new contributors who want to be very accessible in ways of expanding on it as well.
So Luke, you don't see anything in the aftermath of Fedora community that...
I'm going through the code right now,
Yeah.
actually, and I'm just like, wow. We tried to do a lot of this back in the day. You know, dashboards of configurable widgets and all of that stuff. Just trying to think. I mean, there was so much pain that we were happy to burn it down.
Right.
There was no Fed message back then.
Right.
That was one of the big main...
And we were trying to use these widget frameworks that were way too complicated.
Yeah.
It's the early days.
There's that joke about problems in computer science. There's only 2 hard problems in computer science, which is naming things, cache invalidation, and off by 1 errors. Right, exactly. But cache invalidation really is like generally hard. But based on this tech we built over the last 3 years, we actually can do it. And so now, like Fedora Community and Fedora Packages was so slow at first because they had to go out and query these other really slow services, all of them. So it was like the sum of slowness. Take the weakest link and then add all the other links to it, and that's how slow it was. But now we can have a cache that updates very, very quickly, so we get constant time access to delivering page information from other systems. We don't have to wait or be out of date.
So I don't know if you guys remember when portals were the cool new hotness, right? And they were like super cool, and everybody loved the concept and everything. But that actually exactly there is a lot of what killed them. Is because they basically summed the slowness of all the applications they used.
Cumulative sum.
They did terrible kind of cache or independence of the portlets.
The Bugzilla tab on the kernel package and packages.
Yeah.
Since you guys worked on it, I implemented a cache for that, so it is now fast me. But it doesn't do smart invalidation, right? It's just out of date whenever you go to look at it.
Oh, okay.
By like 5-15 minutes, and then there's an async refresher, but it's just...
But that's, who cares if it's missing 10 minutes of bugs? Seriously.
But people can't use it for their workflow then. They can't go and be like, okay, what bugs do I need to close? And then they close, they go back to the page. But the things they just closed are not, they're still there.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't update it when the user does, because it's the user's doing it on that server and it has, okay.
And that's what we got killed out.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's it. That's the prototype.
That's the prototype.
Cool. So I had one more presentation lined up, was for Megan to go through. She's been doing a lot of awesome work on just expanding out the mock-ups, because the last meeting we had, like, we identified a bunch of things that like we hadn't mocked up yet. So she's gone ahead and done that. So we can move on to that and then just talk about building this thing. Does that work? Cool. Okay. Do you want to have your computer drive it? Are you in the Blue Jeans thing?
No.
Okay.
I can find it. There we go.
Oh my gosh, yes, that loads so fast. I'm on the kernel bugs tab. It's just, this is the ThinkPad Yoga. It's got the Wacom. Yeah.
Fancy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I need my Wacom.
Wait, so you said do phones with the...
Oh, it'll do computer, then hit join, and then it'll do a thing asking you, so do dial in with phone and send video. There you go. Yep.
Sure.
Oh, and you have to activate, the plugin thing.
Okay.
And then you have to unblock that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Did it go? Oh, I think it popped under or something.
I hate this trackpad.
I know, it's evil. Maybe you might have to refresh it, because it just...
You click the
Lego brick. Yeah, the Lego brick.
You have one of the new ThinkPad pads that the whole trackpad is a button.
The Yoga has that too. I just turn it off. It's I don't know what they were thinking. I have no clue.
I have the new one.
They fixed it.
Scrapped it after one generation.
It's not.
Everyone hated it.
It's not. It really strapped. It's not
It's
enough.
like they took the worst idea Apple has had in the last decade and figured, okay, I'm pretty sure we can manage to make this worse by having touch zones that are not consistent.
On the Lenovo.
On the thing that people liked the best about your product.
On the Lenovo.
Okay, cool. And then you have to go to here to do the...
the share screen.
Yeah, there you go.
I just didn't want to open it until I...
Even their sock puppets couldn't keep up.
Well, I mean, that was the one thing about Macs. I'm sorry, I'm a Mac hater, but I could not deal with one button. Why would you only have one button?
Well, I had the same problem with the GNOME thing of, that decided to follow the Mac model of touch tap doesn't work. Like, it's the most intuitive human thing to do, right? It's like to tap it.
Right.
It's like.
Okay.
I love that you can turn it off in the installer now, though. Like you can turn touch to tap back on. I think Anaconda.
Okay. So I did a bunch of different ideas for. Is this like? Am I like audible to?
Yeah, the mic is right there.
So
it should be good.
Presumably. Okay, cool. So I had a bunch of different. Okay. Oh God. No, sorry, I should have brought my mouse. I have a bunch of different, ideas for. So this is the first one I did. So there's two kind of like areas that I focused the mock-ups on. The first was like the team hubs, and then the other was the personal hubs and like your personal preferences. So this is like the team hub, and this is like I thought about like how you'd want like as an admin how you'd go about like setting it up. So like here it is. You can
Would you make it a little bigger?
Yeah, sorry.
You can hit F12 to hide the panel on the right, which will give you more real estate.
No.
Right. Oh, there's a different shortcut on there. Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
And you can do. Here's another thing. Control R takes away the ruler.
See, usually I just click wheel, but
yeah. Oh, you can do Control arrow. I think if you. Oh yeah, I'm not. But yeah, if you do Control, that should scroll it for you.
Okay.
So it's kind of like click wheel.
Okay, good. That's so what like as an admin how you go about like starting to set it up. So you can change the the name there, you can upload the logo images for your hub, and then the idea of like the welcome message, so like more like less, I think we're thinking of more like the community rules and like the description, like what this actually, like what hub this actually does, and then just the kind of idea of taking the general layout from the Mo's mockups about like where the widgets are. So then before the widgets start actually syncing, you just input the information like in the same location. So then you don't have to move things around if it's. And then I didn't know how this would work at the back end, but I assumed that you'd either just need to like tell it where to pull the information from, or it might have you link out to the other site to like validate it. But I didn't I just don't understand the back end of that. But that's the kind of logic I was thinking. Does that seem?
It does. And like the example lists there.
Yeah.
We need to enhance the prototype to then be able to provide the suggestion, right, of like.
Oh yeah.
Example list, but this. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And for a lot of it, it'd be really handy if we could do like when you're typing in. I think this is something we were talking about before. The name of the list, it would autocomplete based on what's on list.fedoraproject.org. But it could be an external one too. But just a little nice value add if you're doing a Fedora list or IRC channel or whatever.
Do we want to allow people to choose their own IRC network? Might be a vulnerability there.
Well, the desktop guys use GimpNet.
We may want to restrict that. What if like you want to join some botnet thing?
So restrict it to like GimpNet and Freenode and maybe OFC or whatever.
Yeah, drop.
Well, but not every user is going to have access to edit what IRC network. It's only going to be admins of hubs.
Oh, okay. This is that.
Yeah.
So you should be responsible.
Yeah. Unless I'm mistaken, you can admin your own page. You have like an admin builder page. And you can choose to have an IRC widget on there or not.
Yeah, but for that, Megan was thinking it would just be you put in your NIC and I guess the network, and then when people go to your page, they can send you like a hi and it's a private message. But it's not going to be a channel configured to you.
Cool. Okay.
So that might be less of an issue with botnets, right? A private message is not as scary. So.
Yeah. Okay. So then, the add the widget, and then that'll pop up. I'm trying to remember where things are. This is like, the hub admins. I wasn't, we thought about would this be on FAST or would this be on on Fedora hubs. And I think because you might like a group fast admin might do different things than a hub admin, I guess. So if we wanted to keep that functionality separate, this is how, you just go about at it. You can remove them, just manage it in kind of modal. Most of my mockups involve just like having the pop-up windows to manage things.
Well, and even if it was assigned to be in Fast, I imagine just making Fast API calls, it could still be this UI, just
Yeah, but instead of being the same as an admin in Fast, it would be more like a hub admin, like a new role in Fast for that group. Yeah.
Okay.
And my gut reaction is to prefer that they're actually the same thing, that we don't have two separate roles, but I'm totally open to changing it. It just keeps it simpler because it's all one thing.
Yeah.
Behind it, it might be like engineering imposing on like what would actually be a better design scenario.
Well, the thought was that there's certain groups, like the design team group, it's just like a free-for-all, like you're admin, whatever. Like it's not very strict, but some groups, like I think ambassadors are super strict with like who gets admin access and who can sponsor other people, and they have this whole workflow built around it. So it was sort of out of extreme caution and not disrupting that, or people who we want you to be able to sponsor new people, but we don't necessarily want you mucking with the hub, that kind of thing. So
okay,
it could be like adding to speak to the other condition, adding a new amount of work to admins. Whereas before they just had to admin the ambassadors group. Now they have to admin the ambassadors group and they have to admin their hub. And like double duty when they add a new person on, but also admin hubs. It's like a.
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe make them the same. I think I'll take a note on that.
Make creation in hubs imply creation.
Well, in
or vice
Fast,
versa.
could you add basically a role in Fast that would be hub admin? So if you join a group, you could either hold admin or hub admin, and admin would kind of like superset hub admin. So like an admin of the Fast group who like kind of structures in this group could then delegate and say, okay, you three people in this group are now hub admins.
Not a full group admin, but a hub admin. Yeah, that's probably easy enough.
Is that's not problematic? Okay.
And you automatically become a hub admin when you become a Fast admin.
So then you don't have the double duty work, but you still get the advantages of having someone just have the right permission without getting everything. That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so let me write that down. So hub at
Base will require some Fast tweaking because you have a group admin and you have a member or a sponsor.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the idea would be almost it probably will take some changing.
There may need to just be a fourth category in there, or else we just allow sponsors to be hub admins. That might be just as easy.
Well, but that would also impede.
Well, that would be
on the workflow that the ambassador group has. So it almost would need to be a new.
I like the idea of admins becoming a hub admin, but then having another hub admin category, so that if you're.
So that may just require a fourth status.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, continue.
Sorry. so many tangents.
Okay. I gotta figure
out to talk through it.
So then here's what I was actually going for was you click the plus add a widget. You click the plus add a widget, and then it'll come up, and then there's the default types because there's not infinite widgets for obvious reasons. So you just select what kind it is, and then it'll take you to the window, and then you put in again the information, and I don't know how specifically that's gonna end up working from a technical point, but just the idea of that's how you add it, and then you can remove them later, or it would, and then the idea is there'd be these defaults, so most people would want a mailing list, most people would want the library and the IRC channel, but you can remove them if that's not what you want, and then you can add them back later, and then just the 2-column idea to keep them separated into because the main one is going to be like the actively updating feed idea, and then the right sidebar is more permanent information, which I think is pretty standard. So I think that's what I have pretty much for this set of designs. Is there any other?
I really like, the customability of the colors and stuff. Yeah. And that reminds me of what Reddit does, where admins of subreddits can tweak everything about the CSS from the up and down buttons to the themes, the backgrounds, and all that stuff. And it would be cool. I mean, I don't know if we want like a one design fits all for every community, or if we want to give them more breathing room to tweak. I don't know. Reddit does a really good job.
I think letting them have some personality is really important.
Maybe we could have like the Fedora, the back catalog of Fedora wallpapers as options.
I'll write that in as a note.
Cool. We've got those.
I just want to mention, I think that I think it's very important. I think it'd be cool to have like some sort of CSS modifying ability like Reddit has, like Luke mentioned, and I think it'd be cool for admins or even gurus of hubs to manipulate the way that the widgets were set up and their importance and the prominence on the page. But we also want to maintain some sort of uniformity so that people that are trying to join new hubs know where to find all the stuff on the new hub compared to their previous hubs, and you know.
It could be maybe we only let them tweak certain classes or something.
Yeah.
Like even like, I mean, people like, for instance, Facebook, though, I know everyone hates that example. I mean, you can configure some stuff on your page, but at the top of the page, you've always got your like main nav buttons, you know, that's the same across all of Facebook. So if we identify the things that should, like they call the button on the iPhones the physical button, the Jesus handle. Like UI designers, I'm not a UI designer, but I've heard that like there should always be a Jesus handle, like a button you press to like get out of where you were and stuff like that. So I mean, like kind of like that idea. If we keep some things uniform, I think that we could give people a pretty large amount of freedom to design their hubs the way that makes sense for them. Like for instance, if they don't use IRC, don't include the IRC widget and stuff like that.
So in terms of the architecture, like if we lay out that widget.py and it's got the template baked in, how would we make it so people can tweak the template from the web interface later on and have it persist? You know, like
templates aren't supposed to be inline and baked in. They're going to be in a templates directory. That was for demo.
But then how do we make it so, I guess someone from the web would just tweak it and it would write it to disk, or are we going to store it in a database, or I don't know, or are we going to only allow people to tweak CSS or the HTML? I don't know.
We say we let them tweak all of it. We can store that in the Postgres database because it counts as widget configuration.
Okay. Right? And then there's got to be a hub-wide CSS.
Right. And hubs also have an entry in the database. There's two tables in the database: hubs and widgets. So like map it.
Cool. Plausible.
Cool. Yeah, but I'll figure out how we do this. Have you guys thought at all about alternatives to modals for configuring stuff? So like this is a modal, right, where you have a window that pops up.
I pretty much focused just on that. Are there like reasons to not?
What are the alternatives? Okay.
You could do like an inline panel. So like one thing I've seen is like you click on the thing and it wouldn't work for adding a new widget, but if you're mucking with a widget that's already there, it'll like flip over or something, and then it's like an inline thing.
Yeah.
I just started playing with Paiga for project management, and we're not actually using it, but it was neat. One of the things it does is the whole page moves off screen to the left, and then the configuration panel comes in, so it's like Zen mode, where there's no distractions or anything else. You're just configuring the widget, and when you're done, you go back.
Okay.
Seems like that's just JavaScript-y.
Yeah, you could do either way. The same interaction's the same.
Yeah. Yeah, like I'm not super tied to this. This felt like it would be the simplest way, you know, to actually make. Okay, cool.
We can have a lot of fun with transitions, though.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that's that one. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So then this one next is because since there's the difference between members and subscribers, so I'll wait for that. So you're gonna want to you know, anyone can subscribe, but since the member is based on like fast stuff sometimes, and then other times, you know, or not sometimes, always, you know, you have to manage that. So how do you zoom in? Sorry.
Oh, hit one actually. One's the best way. That'll do 100%.
Okay.
And then you can just hit the plus key to zoom in further if you want.
Okay, perfect. Cool. Okay.
Megan did all this, never really, like not
Usually
having a lot of Inkscape experience, so this is like
trackpad is
incredible, but that's why I'm like feeding her shortcuts.
Yeah, so then here's the subscribe button, and then there's the join hub. I figured since subscribing is easier, I just made it bigger. Also looked really bad with 2 buttons. Just really bad. So then you subscribe, and then I was thinking just like a tooltip to tell you that you've been subscribed, to tell you that now you have to, you know, it's added to your bookmarks. You're gonna get notifications. you're good, and then you can just continue viewing.
Speaking of
yeah.
Naming things being a problem, just going back to the earlier point, I think a word like join would be better than a word like subscribe.
Oh, well, isn't subscribe is different than join. So join is you're a member, and subscribe is you're just following it.
Oh, okay.
We could just drop it for like the star versus whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do follow.
Yeah. Follow's probably, because then you have like that transfers over like the Twitter idea of following, which is pretty familiar. I think subscribe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although they call it watching.
They call it watching, yeah.
Oh, yeah, watch versus star or something.
I think it's important we do it different than GitHub, because GitHub, both starring and watching, you don't necessarily have to have any involvement in the project. I think what we want is like starring / following, and then we want in the project. Those are the two we want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I kind of, on the one hand, I kind of really like the way that this is done, because subscribe is very large and join is smaller, because it's really good etiquette to follow a group before you try to approach them to join, just so you have a little bit of a lay of the land and you're not completely green. On the other hand, it de-emphasizes join, and that kind of, I don't know. So if we made, instead of, like, for example, instead of being subscribe, if subscribe was just like star or follow or something, and it was just a little icon, and it was just filled in or not, then you'd have the space to have the join button.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be like this weird, the two buttons fighting.
So is it confusing if you have the subscribe, once you're subscribed, make that be the big button, make join be the big button as kind of a next step thing, and then have the unsubscribe become the smaller thing?
Sure.
Is that... I don't know how that
Yeah.
works.
That's worth considering.
One of the things that I feel like what we want people to do is by default feel like they do, like just that even being interested is enough for this group to welcome them in.
Yeah.
And I feel like subscribe versus join sounds like I can be an observer or I can be a participant. I feel like we should try to figure out some way that maybe even just different terminology than subscribe, where
I would observe.
It's dabble versus commit, or that's a bad description. But I want it to feel like no matter what you're pressing, you have become part of this community, not just an observer of this community.
Right.
We don't have to
just logos for this.
It's journeyman and or.
Yeah, and I think David, you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I was saying go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just saying we don't have to make this decision right now. We could have, even if we wanted to, we could implement some sort of like thing in the database that let us make new ranks, or like you can have different ranks for hubs if we want to get that complicated. Like, I mean, we can easily just like set it up so that the decision can be changed later if it doesn't work out. But I think we all agreed that we want different levels of involvement implemented, and that's what's important.
Well, my point is that may actually impact the design decision if we're talking about kind of involved and very involved as opposed to watch user experiences. So if you disagree with me on watching versus doing and participating a little and participating a lot as concepts, then I'll stop talking. But
Well, I mean, there's definitely a model in Fedora right now for folks who definitely, and they wouldn't feel excluded, they just follow a team. We have a lot of followers in the design team who have no intention of doing design work or artwork, and they don't even care that they're considered a member or not. They just want to see the wallpaper because they want to know what's coming down the pipeline. Like, they want to see what's going on.
I would definitely like to follow. I'm not a designer, but I'm very interested.
Right. So, I mean, I think...
But at the same time, even not, creating a wallpaper or designing a website, maybe...
They're helping by giving feedback.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like
giving feedback is
like
still
that.
contributing. So that, to me, that's not just subscribing. That's being that's being an editor. Yeah, or in the newspaper sense.
I don't want to give people credit too much for being. Cause, I mean, we definitely over the years have had our share.
I do want to give them credit for being.
No, you didn't let me finish my sentence. I don't want to give people credit for being trolls, and we've had our share in the art community. Like, you can't put purple in a wallpaper. There was one guy for like years, like anytime a wallpaper had any purple, you cannot put purple in a wallpaper. It's the color of bruises. It is very offensive in Europe. Like, it would just go on every release. And it's like...
I don't think trolls should be green. That helps.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it...
Got all those funny colors in hair.
Yeah, I was going to say they aren't. They're like beige with weird hair.
I mean, the thing is, like,
neon hair.
If we have a system like the Guru system where if somebody, they're just, following or subscribing to the group and they're not necessarily a member of the group, but say their feedback, like their comments and different things that are posted on Hubs is like really insightful and very helpful, one of the admins could maybe send them an invite, please join the group. Like there could be sort of a path to them.
Well, right, but I mean, what if we describe this path as, rather than the observer participant dichotomy we've kind of got here. What if it was more of, you hit the subscribe button and immediately you are a novice, or the better word I'm trying to think of is more of a not apprentice, but
I think the person
newbies.
I think the person is saying what they want by clicking on which button. If I actually want to be considered a member of the group, I will click on join. It doesn't immediately mean that like I have a stack of stuff that I have to do.
Well, the impression I'm trying to say is that for all practical purposes, the default should be I feel like I am part of this group. Whether or not my level of
I disagree with that. I disagree with that assumption because I follow the Fedora marketing team. I don't want to be a member of it. But I need to follow what they're doing to do my job. I need to have a level where, and the thing is that I'm logged into Fedora Hub, so I feel like I'm a member of the Fedora community just by merit that I have a login in the system and I'm a member. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, but of course a lot of this is built on the current Fedora interaction models where you have someone who is working on, and we're talking about teams too, but what about like a project hub? That could be a different dynamic because we don't have any equivalent to that right now. Like right now you have the designer who needs to listen to marketing and needs to listen to ambassadors, but might not necessarily have any interest in joining them, just needs to know what they're doing so that they can do design work, right? With projects, I don't know how that would change that dynamic. But I would assume people would want to follow a project and not necessarily,
It's the difference between, like, the reason why we originally came up with subscribe versus join was the difference between, like, following somebody on Facebook and joining a group, right? Like, you want their activity to show up in your feed versus you want to show up in the group.
Right. You want the news versus you want to participate.
Right. Well, the other thing too, right, is you can use the karma model. So you can get your newbie status, which is kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, the first time you get a first karma point from somebody else, kind of like the IRC++ thing, which I think is super awesome.
The cookies, that's fantastic.
A spectator apprentice guru is like progression.
Yeah.
Well, make it sound like it's a again, gamify it a little bit. Spectator apprentice guru.
The only thing is if the person doesn't ever want to move up,
well, then they can maintain this little. Everyone loves a spectator sport.
I think that would be cool to.
I was trying to choose a term that is in and of itself positive.
So what you'd have to do is say.
There's a lot of people talking again.
Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so what we're talking about is if there's some kind of progression or some kind of idea that a participant in a group could start following it and work their way up to being an apprentice or a guru just by participating in the group at a follow level. I guess my argument would be we could do the levels if you're a member, but like if you want to be a member of the group, you just join the group and then you participate.
Right? The motion from, say, spectator to apprentice should be initiated by the user. And then the motion from apprentice to guru should be initiated by
it can also be parallel paths, right? I mean, like, it can be parallel paths too, right? I mean, one of the problems you have in the development world, right, is if you're in management, is if you promote developers too much, they sometimes then get turned into management. A lot of developers don't actually want to turn into management, right? So you end up doing these parallel path structures, right? So you could have spectator that then becomes some better kind of spectator, right? I don't know what that is exactly, right?
Right.
You know.
True.
I was thinking maybe commentator. Maybe commentator.
Maybe scale that back a bit.
I think no matter what we do, it needs to promote a positive interaction with the community. Like, we have to be very careful just because we don't want to set up some kind of system that, again, is promoting trolls, right? Like, it has to somehow guide them to the way we really want them participating in the community. But I think that maybe should happen within the member, like, I feel like follow is really just like newsfeed. It's like newsfeed versus more personal involvement, if that makes sense. But I do like the idea of like building up, and sort of badges does that too, right? So
right, and maybe that's tied to badges,
Right.
Maybe we start having a series of, like we talked about.
There's design team badges. So if you get 10 design team badges, then you're elevated or somehow.
Yeah.
You have like a title.
Exactly.
Design team quest.
Exactly. Yeah. And it helps it helps throughout the whole system, because then you have like a rank, and you don't want it to be like a class system and then like, no, you don't want all that, but at least like new users who don't know who everybody is have some kind of signal to see this is a person who will be helpful to me. It's just another hint, like this person is the design team ninja level 3. A lot of forum software has that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, this person's tagged with Python, so.
Yeah, exactly. So you know that they're going to be someone who could help.
So we were mid walkthrough, I think.
Yeah. So then the next thing is, because when you want to join, since it's a membership thing, there's like, your request, and then the admins get a notification so that they can approve you or not, depending. So you're like, yes, I do want to join this actually. And then I was thinking, like, on the hub page as an admin, it'll just show up as like an alert, either just one or multiple ones. And then again, the idea of, and then you can click on the links and it'll take you to their profiles. You can check up on who they are. And then again, it'll pop up the same sort of managing modal, where you can deny or approve, and if you approve, it'll just, good job, go on. And then if you deny, one thing is we thought, you can't just tell people no, you have to explain why. So then, again.
The Dear John interface.
Yeah, that's, yeah, because, like the design team, you have to, do a task, and then I don't know what any of the other like kind of rules are, but there might be, as a hub admin, I don't know where you'd set this up, but at some point you can set up, I think we just set the list of excuses why you don't let somebody in, and then 2 or 3 you pick it or type a custom one, like I'm pretty sure you're not a real person, etc., etc. And then just send that, and then the
number of times we've gotten that email.
So if I'm setting up this
Yeah.
group, could I set it up so that people who meet a certain criteria can automatically be approved?
I think that should be a fast functionality.
Yeah. Okay.
And this message, I think fast does, and I don't know whether or not certain groups are overloading a field that's meant for something else, but like that text is almost verbatim what we have on the design team fast. There's like a little box, like it's a little form field that stuff is in.
Just a minor nitpick. I don't think we should use the word closed.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe invite only is what fast uses now.
Yeah. I think it was private at some point, and then that had a different implication, so I came up with closed, which is not a ton better, but yeah, that's very flexible.
It's elite.
It's a red velvet rope. It's a velvet rope group.
So I got a weird question. Back on the page where there weren't any pop-ups, you had that purple bar that says "Welcome to Fedora's design team." This is pretty random, but what happens if I click that arrow?
Oh,
the whole thing.
It opens up and you can read.
This thing. You get this
can
thing.
minimize it. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So, and if you open it up, then you can exit out, and then you won't see it anymore.
But there should be a collapse here too, right?
Yeah,
the X is
that's a good point,
isn't it?
Oh, I take X.
The X should be removed.
I would. Well, maybe that's a bad user or visual, but
that's the
my
widget I did. So
expectation
it's my
would be
bad.
close that and be able to see, but I'd be able to open it again because you always want to be able to see the group rules.
I expect that will go away.
Well, no, the group rules are actually always visible.
Well, I would expect that would be the behavior that happens when you hit an X, but I would expect that the behavior you actually want is for that to only be collapsed or expand.
It could be that it just collapses and expands, and then like once you've been in the system long enough, it just disappears. But the same rules are always visible under community rules and guidelines, right where the admin list is. So
if the X is too confusing, you can always make it an up arrow. That's not
right.
I don't think that's confusing. I think that it should just be in this state the first time you go to a page, and then it should be like recorded somewhere that you've already closed that notification, so that you can lower it again. But that should be the default, is the expanded one, just like if you went to a forum in 2001.
But that means, but doesn't that mean that each widget needs a per user configuration at that point? Let's keep it in a cookie. Okay.
Just a quick other comment on one of my pet peeves of things that disappear like that is that you can't ever get them back.
That's why I was saying I think we want to just have it be a collapse and expand.
Well, that's how life is. You can't get it back.
As a notification, just give us some way to get a list of the past notifications. One of my current pet peeves right now with GNOME is now there is no way to get the history of notifications. Like I like the new version of notifications much better. But you can't, if you in any way accidentally remove a notification, it's gone.
So except for the hub intro box, that is always available under community rules and guidelines in every single hub. So if it ever goes away, you can get it from there.
I don't know that as the guy.
Right. Well, and we can figure out a way to make that more obvious. But for every other notification, so like Ryan Lurch wants to join the group, blah blah blah, and it pops up, it will also show in your feed. So it's always going to be visible in your feed. So you can go back in the history and retrieve it.
Fine.
And there's more mock-ups showing that.
You know, a lot of people are doing it now. I don't know what they're actually called, but you know how they do they do it mostly on phones. They do the fade out notification. So like you click the X and the notify goes away, but then there's a little small box that says, hey, you just cleared this notification.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, that UI experience?
The undo button too?
Sometimes the undo button, like Google does a lot of the undo on like archive and stuff. I think actually 9 does it now too.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so if when you click on X, it said notification went away, you can always find it again in your feed.
That's the way to do it.
It'd be nice to tell them that where to go.
I will know that. I think that's the perfect way to handle it. Then they'll know where to get it.
And that should be easy to figure out.
And I think that what it should be is that if that notification goes away, and you can store it in a cookie, but if the user explicitly says, okay, I don't want this anymore, don't show it. It could even just be a don't show this anymore link on the bottom. Then that's when automatically hiding it maybe is not.
I would do that on the feed side, like as in, if you really, really want to kill it, you could go and kill it off of the feeds, right?
No, because the group thing doesn't appear in the feed.
Sorry, different. Yeah. This isn't because we're talking about notifications, and this thing isn't actually.
Yeah, it's not really. It's more like a widget. Okay. Yeah.
So the Reddit style of showing information on the right-hand side, kind of about the group and stuff, I think is actually really consumable as an idea. I don't know.
We should detect the person's locale in FAS and switch it if they're in a right to left language.
Ooh, that's a good idea, actually.
So that'd be great for me if I'm ever in a place. Like, why did everything just flip? I'll just look at it upside down.
What we're getting at is that there has to be, on like this initial view here, a way to axe and hide some stuff. But there should be some page that has it's like the log page, like the master list of activity. And even if it's only viewable to the user, there has to be some way to get all the information back. Right?
I think that's what we're saying is that.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. It's the next mock-ups Megan has, right? I think
so.
You show the Ryan Lurch request in the.
Yeah. I don't know specifically what you're. And then on the. What am I looking for?
It's the personal. It's a different file.
Yeah. So then this is your personal hub. So this is more less like a Facebook group and more like your Twitter timeline, to use awful social media analogs. So then it just shows up as a notification, and there's not really a way to X these out. You just can't. And then from there it'll pop up the same modal to edit.
So Langdon, this is how it would show up if you see how it says Ryan Lurch requested to join. And the cool thing that Megan came up with here is that some notifications are just informational and some you take action on, like approve the request. Mm-hmm. The ones that you can take action on have like a border around the note. And maybe there's other visual design tricks you can use, but they look like they're in the foreground, whereas the ones that are just informational in the background. So if you click on the Ryan Lurch one, then it shows the same approve deny, so you can get back to it.
Yeah, my first glance at that was that they were somehow selected.
Yeah. Okay.
Rather than.
So we need to do some
we can do something else with that. Maybe different background, like like light blue instead of white or something.
Right.
Or like a button, and you don't even have to click the button if you click the whole thing. The thing
like a just indicator in the left that it's important.
Yeah, any change to the whole box will signify that it's selected.
Yeah, that's cool. I like the historic.
Although, just again going back to information overload problem, there should also be a way to say only show me the things that I have that I need to take action on.
Okay.
Right? Because
like an actual
I might have two of them, right, which are at either end of the massive feed, right?
So maybe we'll have like an everything feed and then maybe tabs or something just to show.
What I don't want to do is like suggest an implementation to folks who are good designers, because I do not have an eye for that. But would there be any sense to having like, I don't know, like show me less, show me more kind of thing, and have these things tuned by score in some way so that, that would be a way of filtering things that would be a bit more automatic.
One of the things that we talked about last meeting is that in the upper right corner of every notification, there's a little down arrow. And that's meant to be similar to how like you get a post on Facebook and it's your Republican friend who loves guns and and you're not Republican and you don't love guns. So you just say, don't show me things like this. But it would be based on like, don't show me post by this person, don't show me post in this category. So if it's a reply notification. So you could kind of tune it based on that. So each user would have a configuration showing the types of things they want to see.
I would definitely still have the all button, because one of the things about like the problem with that in Facebook is sometimes you do want to, right? Just not all the time. So it would be nice if there was still the, if you do filters, right? So there's all, right? There's filter by my preferences, which is kind of the stuff you're talking about, right? And then there's filter by things I have to do, right? Personally.
Sometimes I like you doing a little trolling with the guns.
Nothing against guns, it's just.
Because if you like.
So random idea list thing. Make sure you list then that action items from IRC logs should be added. Should be people should get notifications for those.
Oh, that's a good idea.
They're already going to be there because those are on FedMessage now individually. They'll just pop up.
Well, aren't you fancy, Ralph?
Well, you see the text in the.
Where's your monocle?
The text is. David was what I was talking about the subjective API for FedMessage. Like Gnocchi replied to your post. But we don't actually have data for that one. Let's look at a different one. Nismo mentioned you in a posting. Like we have a FedMessage message for when Nismo's post shows up. So we need an API call. So you can pass in Katika's username because she's the one viewing the page. And if Katika shows up anywhere in the post, then we render that string not as Nismo posted a posting, but as Nismo mentioned you in a posting. And that we don't have a way to do that currently, but we need an API for it, and then we need to write a ton of implementations for all the message types about how to detect whether or not a message has to do with a certain person.
Where does that go then? Sorry if that's getting too technical.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in town afterwards. But we're going to hack it. Those be good candidates for it. So.
Yeah, the other problem I see there is when a lot of people suffix their nicks when they're in a meeting or at lunch.
We're just going to mess it up. Maybe Fast 3 could have alternate nicks instead of just a single one, and then you can finalize 3 new crowd.
I'm just throwing that out there as another thing to keep in mind.
Is that being discussed and planned?
Yeah.
Is that a fine?
Navia, who's on the call and has put a lot of work into it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Is it going to use any kind of standard?
I used
you know what this is up to.
previous mock-ups with like a template, so a lot of the structure is hers.
I'm
But
absolutely
yeah.
going to at least cue that up to be read at some point.
Were there any more mock-ups or?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
I have all the personal profile stuff.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
this stuff is really cool.
This stuff, and then I think a lot of this is going to change just based on what we've talked about, even in the past like 10 minutes. But this is like, because for like all the setting your personal preferences stuff. But so this is your personal feed, your personal notifications feed, and then I added a bunch of stuff in the right columns. So like, how the hubs had the sure. Is that better? A little little better.
Show plus.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Then, like on the hub, I had the right column for more content. So I figured you might want to have that for your personal. So, you can keep your bio here because then that, I think, because there's the wiki bio and a bunch of other stuff. So that is a way to kind of have it here. And then I was thinking like personal libraries. So you can, store like, I think these links are really cool for my stuff. So then the idea is that you can like kind of send your profile to like, a friend or a new person is like, hey, what are you working on? You're like, or like, you can just be like, hey, look, list of things.
These are my pins.
Yeah.
Like Megan does, and she did post on all these mock-ups to explain them. So what she could do is pin them to her library, and then if people wanted to see what she was working on, because I'm all the time I'm in IRC and people are like asking me how hub's going, well then I have to go look up. Whereas this time you could just send your profile and just be like, you can see what I'm working on in my library.
Cool.
It could be stuff like, we get asked about Inkscape a lot, so we could just put like some Inkscape tip links that are helpful in there.
Yeah. And then, it'll have a list of your hubs, the badges, and then, you can edit, your Freenode thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then I think ideally in the next one, since we had the idea that you can subscribe to people too, not just that. So then I think we have I'm not sure if this is like possible, but I like the idea of like kind of like gating it. So like because I don't know, I personally have my Facebook locked way down because I don't want anybody to know anything about me. So, and I don't know if that's going to be so much an issue on this interface, but some people, are really...
When you know everything about you, or about what you're working on anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's true, I guess.
But they don't have to see everything. Like maybe you want your library to be private. You use it as a private working whatever.
Okay. Yeah, and then I think the idea is, you can, because, and then, have the 5 most recent, but I think the idea is you can't see everything they've been,
So would that be like a per widget setting? So like each widget is either public or private kind of thing to where?
Or it could be in the middle, like or that could just be a permanent thing. So if you are not subscribed to a user, and the subscription to a user or following a user is a handshake, so they have to approve it. Kind of like if you have a private Twitter profile, they have to handshake with you for you to be able to see anything. So if you don't have any relationship with the person.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Well, it's really weird because
I'm really bad at social media. So.
Well, I still don't know what happens if you retweet someone who's private. It lets you do it, but I don't think anybody can read it.
I think you can only read it if you're also following them,
just
right?
The group of people,
Right.
yeah. So
like my wife and I share a friend who has a private Twitter profile.
Right.
So if she retweets something that she says, then I can see it.
But nobody outside, so not all your followers can see it.
So
Okay.
like I can see my friends reply to like people I'm not friends with all the time, so I get like half these conversations. I'm like, okay, that's fine.
You see, Twitter then is nicely locked down, whereas Facebook is very leaky. I mean, really leaky.
Well, Facebook by design
wants to be
meant to be leaky, right? I mean, so it's kind of
except for when it's Mark Zuckerberg's old family sharing stuff.
Right.
Well, yeah. Part of it's date too, right? I mean, Facebook's been around for a long time. Speaking of technical debt,
But so I lost my train of thought.
If we introduce like black and white security or a whole bunch of grains of security for this, it's going to be like a facade on top of what is a token system underneath.
Right.
So we have all of the original data sources for this, like Git repos. If you're pushing to a Git repo, it's public by default, and then our Fed message activity and the history there is public by default.
Right.
And you can already subscribe to any user in our notification system. I can I mentor Ryan Lurch as a packager, so I can just follow everything he does, so I see it in my package.
Yeah, but part of it is this makes it really easy to do. I think not everybody would put the time, like, it's like the bike lock thing, right? You have the bike that's not locked and the bike that's locked next to it. If somebody really wanted to steal my pink Hello Kitty bike with the lock on it, they could, no problem. But because the other bike is sitting there without a lock, they'll just take that one. It's kind of like that, where...
The only concern I have, so I don't necessarily agree with you.
Yeah.
The concern I have is that you give the impression to the person who is setting up the privacy, like that they want to be private.
Right, but I don't think we'd be... I think that this is more like, for example, like, if you're not subscribed to someone, you'll see a preview. Like, you'll see the most recent 5. If you want to really subscribe to them and, like, do the whole thing, then you'll see everything. And I don't know. I mean, maybe it is a false sense of...
Yeah.
We'd have to word it carefully if we did it so that it wasn't like a privacy thing and it was more just
hide from my feed. Well, I think is
yeah.
It's just the view on it, right? It doesn't change the messages or any of the reality.
Right, because it's still there, but it's just, can anybody see it or can it?
No, I think that's Ralph. Did you have like some other meaning that you were trying to convey there? Because like, I mean, because I think that all of us were thinking like if you were to hide something from your feed or like conceal it, it would be knowing that it exists but not being interested in it. Did you like mean something else? Are we like getting this wrong?
No, not at that point in the conversation.
Well, I don't see why this isn't just an infinite scroll. As you scroll, load more of them. I mean,
well, because
if you don't actually want to subscribe to me says I want to know every time something new happens here. Whereas this is I remember somebody mentioned that this person had something going on. I just want to scroll back, a couple of days and see what it was.
Yeah. Then maybe
having to subscribe to do that to me would be I would not want to do it. I would be asking somebody to.
But that's good because then it's a deterrent.
Well, no, I would be asking somebody to find me a permalink to the specific item I was looking for, and that
which is not hard if they were already subscribed to them. I mean, that's the thing is like it's encouraging a specific. It's moderating the behavior in a specific way.
I don't necessarily want this person's updates on my.
Well, right. So if
you argue the other way, like it's very, very likely that the reason you want to go back and look at something that somebody said, in the case you're talking about, right, is because you are a member of the same team, right, and you had a meeting together or something. Well, likely is all I'm saying. So a good chunk of the time, could you instead say, if these two people are a member of the same group, whatever group means, right, it could mean a lot of different things, but are a member of the same group, then you can see their feeds without subscribing. But if you're not, then you can't.
Or maybe you could see the pieces of their feed that relate to things that you're. So if you remember the design team and she posted on design team, then that'll show up. But like, I just don't want it to enable stalkers. That's really the main thing I'm concerned about.
And it does do a nice job of aggregating that data, which is technically all available, but a little bit harder.
It makes it harder if you don't get this.
What kind of stalking can you do?
And then
presumably all
information will be linked
related.
to
I mean, it's not like.
Well, that's the thing. So it's like I deal with this person in the design team, but maybe they do stuff like with ambassadors and there's like information about where they're traveling. And again, like you could find it. Like it's not like it's not out there.
Saying, none of this
but
is
putting it in putting it in one spot and making it very easy to consume.
Ralph is making it easy.
Right.
I mean, anybody in 1983 could have looked up where my house was on a map and found it. But that they can just go to a computer and get turn-by-turn directions and not even have to go to the computer and print it out, but I'll have it on their phone. It's just a little bit scarier. Do you know what I'm saying? Like get satellite photos and stuff. They could have done that in 1983, but it was a little bit harder.
If we want to make
I don't know. I feel like the amount of people that are so interested in that is so little that if they really cared that much, then they could easily just write like a literally like less than 5-minute plug-in to FedMessage and just get whatever data they wanted. Like they like I mean.
Right. But the type of person who engages in this kind of activity is not the type of person who would sit and do that.
Switch your name to being a woman's name on Twitter for a couple of days.
So possibly one mitigating factor here is making it so that your follows are public, right? So that you can see, if somebody's following you on all of these things, and I can see that, this person is following all of it. If someone is going to follow someone for creepy reasons,
you at least know who they are.
Yeah, and they probably don't want to make that public.
Right. So it brings some light to who they are.
Well, you can also you can use the Facebook thing, the silent block, right? Which is like I can unfriend you and you never know unless you go and specifically notice that you're not getting any data from me anymore.
Right.
So you can do it that way too. Like, you can do both.
That's a different thing.
So these are alternate solutions.
And
to
maybe
the same.
even if because right now subscribes you have to approve it. Maybe you don't even you can there's no approve, deny, subscribe, but even just a notification that this person is looking at everything I've done for Fedora. Even just even if it's not a gate, just the acknowledgement that somebody is looking at it is nice to, and even then, especially they'll be oh hey, they're on Fedora Hubs, I'm gonna follow them back because we work together. Just some sort of notification. Anyway, this is the idea is you can click on subscribers and then look at who they're subscribed to, and the idea of that is to find other people you've worked with who you might not, especially in the early days of hubs, you might not be able to find anybody, or if you're starting up, you might be okay, so they are subscribing to all of these people and they're doing the kind of work that I do. So then just having a place to start building your community, but that would serve the double purpose of, I guess, looking at the subscribers. Does that make sense?
Discoverability.
Yeah.
So then what we would do is everything would be open, but then, it wouldn't be open though. You'd still have just the 5 recent, but if you wanted to subscribe, instead of a handshake, it would just be a notifying, hey, this guy's following you.
Mm-hmm. I like the idea of the mechanism to be able to silently unhook people from your feed.
Right, okay.
It's cool too, but.
And it may be something to start to consider, that there be something in Fed message that I can say, you know what, anytime I post about ambassador stuff, I don't want to go outbound. I don't know. It's hard, but it might be something to start to think about. As you collect more and more data, is there a way that we can as an individual, that I can control, filter some of the content? Because
it's one of the things, gigantic problem.
Right.
If we want to make it a priority, then we'll need.
It's at least something to start thinking about
on its own.
Yeah. It's one of the things I had a challenge with, when I was traveling all the time, right? I don't really want everyone in the entire world to know that, I'm out of town.
Yeah.
Right? So that's, it's kind of, but at the same time, I want to tell a bunch of people that I'm going to be in this place. Right.
You don't want everybody to know that you're out of town, but you do want everybody to know that you're there.
Right. Exactly. Right. Most people know I'm kind of split personality already. So, if you could also work teleportation in there, that'd be.
No, that's last week.
Yeah. Good.
Anyway.
How we got here.
I wondered why it looked a little messed up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
By design.
I put it on topic.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. I think we went through the bookmarks thing already, so that was the other thing I had is the manage bookmarks list, but I think we pretty much covered that pretty well. So yeah, I can go through that again. This is what it would look like if we decide to go on the subscription route. Then the other ideas, you can check the hubs. I think, and then like I said, just the idea of the gating was that things like what hubs you're in, badges probably should be public, and then maybe your IRC name, you might want to know if somebody knows it, although it's probably if you're a Fedora contributor, it's probably a bunch of places all over, but you just
basically hide arbitrary widgets so that either only you could see them or anybody following your profile could see them. So it's just a simple public-private.
And they wouldn't, like we said, they wouldn't really be private, but just the illusion of visibility is sometimes nice, right? I think.
Okay.
And then the last one I had, like I said, was the. We went through it mostly before. I'm just gonna make sure the managing the bookmark subscription list. We pretty much covered. Okay. It expands at the side, has the notifications, which are subject to change. I don't remember why there's 2 of them at all. Sorry. And then, we had the idea of, it can notice when you check a hub a lot, and then it'll prompt you you might have it pretty far down, but it's been more active, so it'll give you a prompting to be like, hey, consider moving this one up a little bit. I'm not sure how the feasibility of that, but we thought that would be a way to you still control the layout of your bookmarks, but like
This prompts
the
you to do
system.
it because people don't go to preferences and muck around for fun. So this is suggesting, hey, use this hub every day. Maybe you want it to be in the visible set.
Yeah. And then this is just the drag and drop.
That is a safe assertion to make in the sort of people that Fedora attracts.
Preferences thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that they do it?
Yeah.
Well, but that's the thing. We're trying to attract
I don't
a
know.
new set of
In my
consumers.
opinion, if anybody saw our settings dialogues, then they would uninstall Fedora immediately.
And yet, the KDE community is one of our largest.
Well, they have
Just
different settings dialogues, don't they?
Don't start.
Hubs is about choose.
Anyway, that's all. That's everything I have. But yeah, so it sounds like I got some. Glad I got some feedback on stuff that may or may not be working.
I took notes on everything, so
thank you.
Everything that came up is a bullet item here.
Can I make a request for a new kind of widget to be like thought about?
Sure.
Which is statistics and like visualizations of activity more broadly.
Sure.
If you go to someone's GitHub profile page, have you ever seen that, Megan?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a like calendar of activity.
The
that
heat
has-
map.
the heat
It's
map.
mostly
The heat map.
when people write things in it.
Sorry?
When people write
Yeah, when
things.
they do the Game of Life, Conway's Game of Life gliders and stuff. Yeah. The other intern who's working on our team this summer, Nate, is going to be working on a back end that could power a lot of charts for stuff. And so we're going to have them anyways for Remy doing general analysis of the community. So for free, we can get those in hubs if we think about what kind of charts would make sense. We use them like for a team, so you can go and look at the design team and see how active they are versus the infrastructure team or something.
I like the activity idea because that would also add to the figuring out if this group has grown stale.
Or if this project is active anymore, or project one.
On like at every scale, we could do it. Is this group of packages active or not? Like if you have like a kind of meta project around maintaining
Python, right?
So yeah, Python.
So there's a metaphor that I talked a little bit with being about of heat and light. So in a hubs context, like if there's a lot of activity in the back end around something, there's like a lot of heat going on, right? There's like cycles, there's people doing stuff. Whereas light is more about like the publication and the visibility of it. So like if something has like a lot of subscribers, there's like a lot more light to it. Whereas if something has a lot of activity, there's a lot more heat. And being able to determine like which one is different, then you can figure out where the community needs to like put the action and stuff like that. It's like a thought. It's not anything really developed yet, but using that to understand the communities a little better is a cool thing that we can do, like when we keep track of activity, because we don't just want it to be about commits, right? That's the problem that we have right now, is all the contributions that are really easily for devs to do and really easy for measuring from a dev standpoint aren't. There's a disconnect between like where other people can fit in and contribute that isn't git commits or builds. So figuring out ways to like measure like you're like contributing to the conversation, or you're contributing to like getting more light brought to the situation. Shedding the light on the things is like in one way. It's not the only way, but it's definitely one that is interesting, particularly in hubs context, I think.
It may or may not be something that's cool for hubs or not, because it's well, forget that. Radar charts. You ever seen a radar chart? It's for categorizing what kind of thing a thing is. You know what I mean? Like, this is my Pokemon, and it is good at attack but bad at defense.
Oh yeah.
It's excellent.
Like
magic,
the axes.
Yeah, you can have like 12 axes, so it's like a spider web. We could do that for Fedora contributors to show like if your messages show up more in the design team hub versus the packager hub, then you're more of a designer than you are a packager. And you could like
That so like you have a personal radar chart. That's cool.
That are actually
right, like how to round out.
And that's a really perfect machine learning problem. Scikit-learn classification.
Yeah.
Could do that today.
Yeah.
There's a Stack Exchange, because I'm a big Stack Exchange fanboy. They just redid their user profiles thing, and they split it into an activity view and I forget what they call them, but there's basically a view for other people looking at me and what's interesting for other people, and there's a view for what's interesting for myself, like what are the things I care about looking at my own activity and profile. And there may be some neat things we can learn from there, because they've kind of tried to, the view for other people kind of tries to give an overview of, what contributions, what is this person good at, what contributions have they made to what areas, what's their expertise. It's pretty neat. They put a lot of thought into it.
I want to share something with you guys, and I think I actually looked at the Stack Exchange. I definitely looked at the GitHub one. So this was the profile mock-up for HyperKitty, and I know some of this is like crack rock and is like not going to be implemented, but like for a given person, and Ricky volunteered for this. I didn't just steal this photo off the internet. Sort of it has with stuff like peer review. 119 people follow his post, so that means like he posts enough that people care what he has to say. Nobody filters out his posts, so he's not like a troll. How many posts of his were liked, how many were disliked, inspires 6 replies on average. Like if we could do those kind of metrics, you could tell a lot. And this is just mailing list posts. Like to do that across all of Hubs, you could probably get some good data. And then there's like this other, and I didn't write out any heuristics for this, I just pulled it out, but the like low volume, only 1 message per month, short and sweet, his posts are 50, like you could do these little kind of things to kind of get it. It's not really like the spiderweb chart, but it's sort of a kind of similar sort of thing, right?
Some data that would go into making a chart like that, it's just presented a different way.
Right.
For every one of these things, like for general Fedora activity, you would have to like, to figure out if they're around, if they're low volume or not, you'd have to go and troll through all the messages in the database, which is a really expensive query.
Right.
So Nate's going to be building just a system that is pre-calculating all that and storing it in a cache so that we can query it on the fly.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Some might call that a data mart.
A data mart?
That's what it's called.
Oh, cool.
Data mart.
Cool. If you have a data warehouse, then you have a mart. So marts are generally defined for the use you expect them to be for. So like you might have a mart in your warehouse in full with a marketing team. You might have a completely different mart that was focused on the finance team.
Yeah, cool.
Basically pre-caches that come from the old BI stuff. So like Cognos and all those things.
I've heard the thing that data group is called a data lake.
That's when you have I think it's been a while, but I think that's a warehouse that's not structured.
Which is data river.
Yeah.
It's like all of the enterprise information.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought you were saying you'd heard that, but yeah, no, exactly. Cool. Definitely needs marts.
All right, yeah, let's build some marts. Come on,
vocab plus DIL.
I don't even know what it's short for. Data mart.
Oh, I mean, instead of like a warehouse, it's like a cookie mart.
Oh yeah.
Get your Slurpee
and. Just realize I was using Oracle databases in like companies or whatever for years before I finally connected that. Oh, it has all the answers. That's why it's called Oracle. See, you didn't know it either.
That's good. Yeah.
See, about the future for your business.
Yeah, right. And it's like. Oh, that makes so much sense.
So this HyperKitty mockup, is this HyperKitty code yet?
Aurelian could probably tell us better, but I think that if there's a profile, it probably just shows like what list they're on and what their recent posts are. I think that he was talking about badges as like a plugin because it's not Mailman applicable. I think the other
once we
stuff.
have hubs, that's when we can get the widgets to embed in other places.
Right.
It'd be like a URL to this widget and then embed it other places too.
Yeah, what's below the picture is basically not implemented, and posting personally is not there yet.
And there's no spec or requirements for this. It's just the mock-up. There isn't like any list of the different things you could do.
I just want to see if there were wheels that didn't need to be recreated, but it doesn't sound like they're rolling yet. So
it's very cool.
The mock-up's awesome. The mock-up is awesome. I really like it.
Yes, it is.
I mean, I think we all have this in our heads when we see what people post. So it's sort of making it explicit. So that if you haven't been around for
one of the things about the metrics that concerns me is the tendency to increase the existing problem we have where the old guard and the loudest people are the only ones who talk.
Well, that's
it could very easily make it help accelerate that problem by making it seem like only these people are worth listening to or talk or.
Well, like if somebody for example, I used Ricky as an example. He actually is a pretty low volume poster, and I think he actually has a lot of the attributes that are here. It's sort of almost making him look very good because he doesn't say that much. Do you know what I mean? Like people who are off the cuff all the time. I think it's gonna. I personally really believe that it's going to be reflected in some of the peer review stuff. Like, the more volume you post, the more chances you're going to have more dislikes. And honestly, like, if you're spewing out that much, there's only so much the human filter can process before you're just spewing out crap that nobody wants to read.
The signal noise ratio.
Yeah. It would be neat to just have that be like a signal noise.
Yeah.
You'd want it to be fair, though, too. You wouldn't want to, you know.
Actually, I'm saying what's actually kind of interesting, because you were talking about trolls here, right? Is that, you know, if you discover that, you actually have 5,000 people who have filtered out all content from you, might be a subtle hint that there's something wrong with your content.
Oh no! When that happens, you most of our folks go on a tirade and then start trying to saturate other forms of communication with the censorship argument.
Maybe we should have some sort of like Fedora cabal panel that like bubbles these types of troublemakers to the top. So
this is my flame thing.
I can neither confirm nor deny that we have done that.
Top 10 most wanted.
Yeah.
If a lot of people filter you, then it's just a conspiration, right?
Let's see how democracy works before we go to the conspiracy backup plan.
Oh, really? I thought that is how democracy works.
Why can't it ever just be the plan?
But yeah, so I guess that's all we have for like planned content. It actually ran longer than I thought, but it's good because we had a lot of good discussion. I think the idea bucket that I have here, where did it go? Oh no, where did it go? Oh, here it is. Yes, this is the idea bucket. That's a big idea bucket. So like that's what we got from all this.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So I think we're in good shape. So
That's a full-on idea fire hose, I think.
So let me unshare this. So it's like almost noon. So we probably just want to do like bio breaks, grab lunch, and then we'll come back and hack on stuff. Does that sound good?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And the Europeans can sleep.
No, Patrick's got work to do.
What,
no, not
any.
anymore.
Should we leave laptops here or should we take them with us?
Leave them here.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen.
Are you coming to Flock, Patrick? I feel like I should probably bring you like a giant box of caffeine.
I'm coming to Flock, but not sure you should.
Send you home with a crate of Thinky Balls soda. Jolt. Apparently, Balls is higher content. Higher caffeine content is Jolt.
Yep.
That's just like
it's amazing. They used to sell it at CompUSA before that shut down. They used to go it was like $20 a case back in the day. I said back in the day, like it was that long ago. It was like 7 years ago. I'm very new to the game.
I thought CompUSA shut down like 10 years ago or longer. My brother used to work there.
Was it that long ago?
I think so.
I think it may have been.
But they kept the name brand around for a while as like a .com.
Maybe you're thinking of Circuit City.
Watched a documentary on that the other
Circuit
day.
City was maybe 7 years ago.
No, it was CompUSA where you could buy that.
How long do we have this room for?
We have it until 1.
Till 1.
So my thought was we go down to the cafeteria and grab food, bring it up.
Outside. Yes, barbecue.
We have cake, so the cake is up here.
I could maybe be persuaded.
And it is not a lie.
Yes.
That's from Portal.
Really? The cake is not a lie?
The robot is telling you there's cake, I promise, and then you
Yes, when you
cake is a lie, it's like written on the wall in blood.
I just heard it somewhere. I didn't even know.
It appeared in 3 different places. One was in the second level.
What was that from? I don't even remember.
Portal.
Oh, we were talking about it before you got
I got so frustrated.
But the real joke there was the ending of the post-credit scene of the game.
I don't remember.
Oh, because there actually was a cake.
Huh?
The whole cake is a lie thing was a lie.
Oh no!
We're still recording.
So like
Oh yeah, so I'm gonna stop the recording.
Sorry.
Uh-huh.
Spoiler alert.